everyone. You guys can hear me, right? Want to make sure. Let me. I'm so professional. Hello, everyone. Okay, yeah, we're good. We're good. Hello, everyone. All right, hi. My name's Andrea. This is going to be a very different stream than usual. I asked on the Discord server the other night, would people be interested in a like root building tutorial stream? And a lot of people were like, yeah. A lot of people, as in, 168 people said yes. If you aren't watching this live, that is fine. That is also the point of this stream. This entire stream is going to be yeah, only 2 went for now. Yeah, the stream is going to be very interactive, and that is intentional. Because I am going to be showing how I go about the process of building roots. To clarify, I am not the only person to go to for making roots. My process, even though I've been doing this for, I think, about a decade now, that does not mean I know everything. So I'm going to quite literally be starting with nothing. We are starting from ground zero, empty base plate. And I am going to be just going through it. And I'm going to assume that none of you have ever used the root builder before. That's fine. I am going to go through everything from ground zero to hopefully something decent. We will be building this in Tane. Yes. We're going to be doing this in Tane because Tane is the most common root editor. And that is pretty much, it's been the same up until most recently with Trainz Railway Simulator 22, where they introduced a new root editor, which I have never used. But thankfully you can still go back to I think it's like Surveyor Classic or something. But yeah. My genuine opinion is that Trainz: A New Era is probably the best version to build roots in because it is the most stable version of the game. Should be noted that the root editor in Trainz: A New Era is the same root editor for Trainz Railroad Simulator 2019. And again, you can also access it for 22. Yeah, give me 1 second. Sorry, just had to turn off my fan real quick. But yeah, so I'm just gonna go through real quick what these all mean. I want to make sure that my mouse is capturing. Cool, it is. All right, so in general, this is going to be where you choose a lot of information. I believe you can change pretty much all of this. You can choose the root name. You can choose the session name, which we'll get into later. You can change what region the root takes place in. Island of Sodor region. I don't... Yeah, sure. USSR, Switzerland, settle in Carlisle, 1960s. You know, there's a whole bunch of them. I'm just gonna stick to default region for now. Yeah. You can also change the scale you work in. This is really helpful if you're ever like planning this out as an actual layout. So for example, the measurements will quite literally be set to the scale that you have selected. So if you're like, oh, I want to film, or if I want to set in N scale, there's a tool that gives you the shitting, pissing, gambling ad. There's a I am so sorry. Are there ads? Is that actually a thing that's happening right now? Can I, oh, what in the hell? Wait, what? Can I do that? Oh, interesting. I heart ad blocker. Interesting. I didn't know there was gonna be ads on the stream. I don't know how that happened. Why would I need to gamble? I'm so sorry. I got a skippable ad. I got an ad when the stream started before I switched to PC. Interesting. Okay, I'll keep that in mind. I wonder if there's a way to turn that off. I tried to turn on the ads in the last stream, but it didn't work. Yeah, that's whatever. It's fine. But again, the ads can the gambling for faster trains downloads. Okay. sorry, as I was saying, the working scale allows you to pretty much change what scale you're modeling in. Um, I'm just gonna do real scale, but there's a ruler tool that lets you measure the actual length. Um, you can also change between metric and imperial. We're gonna be doing metric just because metric is superior over imperial. So yeah. So I'm gonna name this root tutorial example, I guess. We'll call it that. Session name we'll just leave as default, all that. So yeah, here we go. So the root builder has a lot of different tabs here on the side. You have topology, paint, objects, tracks, tools, layers, and trains. A lot of people are going to default to the trains, but you know, you can't put trains if you don't have track. But we're actually not even going to look at track. We're going to look at the topology. So here is your topology menu. This is for the ground. So this changes the height of everything that you see. I will note to move around, you hit right click and your cursor will kind of be following the or the camera will be following the cursor. Actually, here, let me real quick, because this will probably help people a little bit because they probably don't see the same thing that I see. There we go. This is probably what you usually see, is this little compass thing. You can disable it. But by default, I'm going to leave it on just because it's very helpful for people. Because it also will tell you which way is north, east, south, and west. So for reference, when you make a route, you will have to, you got another ad? Here, hold on. There has to be a way to turn off these ads, or at least reduce the frequency, right? Can I do this? What about that? Is that Lions? God, here, here, hold on. I've got something in here that's like, ads, kid named ad blocker. Here, hold on. It says I can disable them. Here. Does that help? I'll probably put ads on the stream after, once it's already uploaded. Yeah, sorry about that. But sorry, as I was saying, if you're making a route that is directional based, for example, you're making the island of Sodor, you know, the west side is going to have Tidmouth and the east side of this island is going to have Vickerstown. If you're like me, you didn't use the compass and you put Tidmouth all the way to the north. That's something that you have to be aware of. You don't have to be perfect with all of this though, just so you know. Something else to note as well, just because I have to... Do you have references for this stream? No, actually. I'm going to be going entirely off of my brain. Something to note about the map geometry, because this is actually very important to know when you're doing this. This is your height up tool, right? And you can see if we just kind of like spin it around, it's like, oh wow, it's raising the ground. It's kind of raising it really slowly, and it's kind of shitty, but you know, there it is. So cool. We have made a hill. It's not a very good hill. Ads and AI slop got me extremely infuriated to the point I installed an AI and ad blocker. Please let me know if any more ads show up, because I've just tried to turn them off. It should stop the ads. If not, get an ad blocker. that's my genuine opinion on that. But you know, we've got a hill here, and this hill is kind of weird. But if you know, for those with a keen eye, you might see very specifically that it is based on the ends of these the corners of these yellow squares, right? So what we can do is we can actually lower the radius. I got another ad for dating apps. I have a boyfriend. I feel insulted. Look, if those are the ads you're getting, I am not choosing them. I'm so sorry. Here, let me see. There's a delay ads button. Let me do that. This says it will delay ads for 10 minutes. So hopefully you guys stop getting ads for 10 minutes. Yeah. Thank you for this tutorial. My roots always look like third grade drawings made three-dimensional. Yeah, we will get into that. But these yellow lines basically indicate where the geometry can mostly be modified. So if we are using the height up tool right on this yellow line, you will see that it is only moving the yellow lines. So that is pretty much if you're trying to make like a raised area where it's like right next to the track there's a hill, you have to keep in mind that no matter what you do, it's going to raise it along the lines. That actually was very perfect. I didn't mean to do that intentionally. And that kind of can be a little bad because these gaps are 10 meters wide. And that can be a little bad. Andrea, can you shout out the plateau feature, the go? I'll get there. We'll get there. Don't worry. But here, there we go. That's the plateau tool. Look at that. Wow, so cool. Basically where the yellow lines are is where your terrain is going to be raised from. So if you are specifically looking to raise one area, just so that way it matches up a little better, you're just going to do it on the corner bits of the yellow line. For example, if I try to do this on the gray line, nothing's happening. And that's because the game is trying to raise the height there on the ground, but there's nothing to raise. If I try it on this yellow line here, it does start to raise it just a little, and that's because it is basically defaulting to the closest corner that it can find. This can kind of also be applied in another way of like, oh, well, I want to move both of these at the same time. You can, as long as they're within the radius, select them and they will go up. So I was gonna say, don't worry, October, I'll get there. Don't worry. If this is too small for you, personally, I am fine with operating in the 10 meter by 10 meter. There are some places where I will be like, yeah, you can change it to 5 meter. And this will say, like, this will change the current grid size. This action cannot be undone. Continue? Yes. Visually, nothing changed. Now, if we go to raise the gray spot, it raises. You can see, too, is that it's also raising right along these corners, too, as opposed to just on the yellow lines. So now you can raise everything in a 5 by 5 meter area. This can be a little more finicky in my experiences, which is why I usually work in 10 meter. But why is everyone just being creatures in chat? But yeah, give me 1 second. Just putting that in there like that. But personally, for this stream specifically, I am going to be using 10 meter. Everything basically applies. Everything that I'm going to say applies to 5 meter as well. But now we're going to actually talk about the, we're going to be talking about what every tool does. So for example, we've already shown the height up tool, but as you can see, height does go up. It go up. Cool. Next we can do height down. Oh wow, it go down. And then we also have adjust height, which I rarely use this myself. It pretty much it allows you to select a very specific area and manually adjust things with your cursor. So like you can see my mouse is going up, raising the ground, lowering the ground. It kind of does look like a heart beating, but yeah. Now let's say that you are like, well, this is kind of like bumpy. I would like this to be flat again. But like, you know, no matter how much you're doing all of this, it's just kind of like, this doesn't really, that's not flat. It kind of looks weird. All right. This is what you do here. we have a like, it looks like a magnet, kind of like a Lego minifigure hand, grabbing a red line that sits on top of a green line. This is a magnet, basically. This is like the eyedropper tool in like MS Paint or something, where you can select the color on the screen. What you're doing is you're selecting the height that your compass is sitting at. So for example, keep an eye on this number. When I click over here into the move geometry, it now says it's at negative 2.19 units. And that does change in real time according to where my compass is sitting. But if you specifically want it to be at a completely flat level ground, it will say 0, 0, 0. Something to note is that you can change this number by typing. So right now it's set at 10. Right now it's set at negative 40. But if you want things to be flat at level ground, you select 0. That will be completely flat. At least that's what default flat is. We can get more into that later. So now you have this. Are you a voice actor? Yes. Stop asking T-Tales questions. I want to put this out there real quick. Please don't ask questions about Tedious Tales of Sodor. This live stream is specifically just for root building. So it's just, please keep that in mind. This is going to be a stream specifically for root building. Going forward, I'll probably just ignore the questions. If the questions are being spammed, I'm just going to mute you from the chat. So please keep that in mind. But anyways, to the right of the get height tool, there is a use height tool. This kind of works the same way as like height up or height down. What it's doing is it's going to default whatever you select to this height. So as you can see, it is now flattening out all the terrain. Yeah, if you have questions related to root building, by all means. That is actually kind of the big point of this stream. Is like, if you guys have questions of like, how do I do this? I will show you. But as we can see, this really rough terrain is now being smoothed out. This is a very high sensitivity tool, by the way. So for example, if I really build this up very, very high, and then I do this, it just immediately flattens it very quickly. This is very helpful for covering large amounts of area that are like very bumpy. So you can just smooth over all of it, just like that. The thing is, something I kind of forgot to mention, there are these sliders. We're going to go to the height up tool as well, are these dials. So this is your cursor radius, and this is your sensitivity, right? So we'll start with a very, very small radius and very small sensitivity. Right here, if we go right on the square, on the edge of the square, you can see it's raising very slowly. In fact, here, what I'll do 1, 2, 3. 3 seconds took that long. If we crank up the sensitivity, 1, 2, 3. Those are very different. Very clearly different. Same thing with radius. If you make your radius very large, it's going to raise the terrain over a large area. And if we just let it sit like that, you can see that is like quite a large area. Same thing as well. If we crank up the sensitivity, it'll make a very large edit to the area that you are working with. And again, as always, same thing applies in reverse. As you can see, you can make very evil map geometry like this. But yeah. That's pretty much, I'm not gonna lie, that's it. That's basically it. Like, that is all you have for terrain editing. It's a very limited amount of like edits and like modifications you can make, but in general, you can work with it. It pretty much has almost everything you could need. There are a few exceptions. For example, you can't make an overhang. You cannot have terrain hang over something. That's not an option, unfortunately. Real quick, I think the ads are gonna come back here in a second. I'm gonna let it sit for a moment. Can I? I'm gonna delay ads again. Yeah, okay, it says for another 10 minutes it'll delay. Cool. Hold on, let me check getting notifications. Bitch ass. Sorry, someone's messaging me. Haven't gotten any ads at the moment. Okay. But you can't make overhangs, so you can't have the terrain kind of hang over like with a cliff face or something. You can't make that happen in Trainz with the default terrain editor. There's an asterisk on that because there are ways to actually make that work, but we'll get into that later. So that basically covers almost everything, except for there's something big that someone kept mentioning in chat. Oh, my headset just died. Hold on. There's something called the plateau tool. The plateau tool, basically, the best way to think of it is that it's taking the average space of everything within the spinning circle, averages it out, and then tries to balance everything to that height. So as you can see, we've created like a slightly more flat area. And now when you try to move it around, you'll see that everything around that is also raising to that height. This is it's very similar to the get height and then use height. The big difference is, for example, if we were like, oh, I want to gather the average of this flat part, if you try to use it, you'll see it's kind of very slow. Even though my sensitivity is completely at full, it's very slow. So if you're trying to flatten something out, use the use height because it's a lot faster. Which leads you to ask, what the hell is the plateau tool for? So we'll make some terrain here. This is kind of bumpy. You know, this is not what hills should look like. Rather than trying to just like build up around the edges, which you can do, you can use the plateau tool. Eli, I'm getting there. Don't worry, I'm covering everything in this stream, please. You can like slowly smooth out the terrain around it so that way it is leveling everything out. Yeah, there we go. What can I say? do a root building stream. Do your own root building stream. The more people that are giving advice on root building, the better. Because like there are a lot of people out there who don't know how to do anything like this. So it's like do your own tutorial things. I'm not kidding. I'm not trying to be like, I'm not trying to be mean about this. I'm genuinely being like, the more tutorials there are out there, the better, because root building isn't something that just like there's one way to do it. If you don't do it this way, you're wrong. Because it's like I said at the start of the stream, I am not the root expert. There are things that I don't know how to do well. Like I can do them if I have to. I'm just not good at them. Anyways, now that we have shown how to do pretty much all the terrain editing itself, fun fact, if you're struggling with root editing, destroy your computer. The humble Amtrak guy 351 root tutorial. I actually did watch that video before I did this because I was very interested to see how they handled it. Next thing to note, we have water. But you're not really seeing any of the water. Oh, I saw it for a second. There it is. I was like, where'd the water go? I got scared. I thought I broke something. All right, this is water. Look, you got water. Touch it. Drink water. This kind of works the same way as the terrain tool, except it just creates a really big area in the ground. So if we kind of do this, we can cover the whole base plate in water. Which is like, wow, that's a lot of water. Now you can be like, oh, look, I've made an island already. Boom. Just like that. You've made an island. That's so easy. So it's like, you know, like, wow, look at that. There's like a cool little island. It's wow. That was easy. But the thing is, what? Oh, that is annoying. Trainz 22 has water on by default. Well, then I guess I'll show you how to get rid of water. To get rid of water, you use the thing to the right of it, which just does the same thing. It just gets rid of it. just the same thing. But let's say, for example, here, hold on, that you have already been like, oh, okay, well, like, here, we'll just grab like a random track real quick. Sure, we'll use this. You have a random track, and you're like, oh, I've already built up all this stuff, and you're like, well, I need it by the water. Oh, well, that's not where I want the water. You can use this to adjust the water height, which will actually physically lower it down into the ground. And you can see that it does kind of just at some point disappear. Like, as you can see here, like, you can kind of have the rails partially submerged. It's a cool look, but most of the time the water would be completely under the ground. And that's exactly where it is. So if we use the height down tool, there's the water right by the track. And then same thing, if we just raise it up, it's still there. It's just once you lower it back down, it stays where it should. And you can still lower it very far down, and now there's 2 little ponds down here. You can't adjust the height of the water unless you remove the water layer. Moral of the story is don't edit routes in Trainz 19 or Trainz 22. That's the moral of the story here. But yeah. We'll get more into tracks soon. In addition, we are given a very, very small space to work with. I believe, sorry, there's so much water, man. I believe the actual scale of this is about, I think it's 750 meters by 750 meters. That's a bit small. You can get stuff out of 750 meters. It's quite nice. But sometimes people want something bigger. If we look here, we can set ground grid resolution, which is what we just showed, where you can change it to 5 meter, or you can add /update ground. So I have selected this here, and you can see very clearly that is this green square with an arrow pointing down to a white square next to it. If you select a space of open air on the edge of the grid, it'll add another grid. So now we don't just have 750 meters of space to work with. We have 750 meters plus, if I can do math correctly, 250? No, 2,500, I think, right? Or no, I think it's 1,250. Sorry, my bad. Yeah, Andrew's not good at math. Sorry, guys. Yeah, no, it's 1,500, isn't it? 1,500. It's 1,500. This is a route building stream. This is like a route building tutorial stream. So like we're talking about route building. But we have basically created a very long area to work with. I just made long stretches of track till I felt like till it felt long enough. I didn't know there was an actual way to measure it. Yeah, we'll get to that. But you know, we can just keep making it longer and longer and longer. And after a while, you're like, well, that's so far away. You know, like what if I'm here? I don't want to have to go all look at this. It takes so long to get over there, right? Well, thankfully, Trainz has something cool. If you scroll out, by the way, scroll up zooms in, scroll out zooms out. If you just keep scrolling out, you can now see every individual baseboard. It should be noted you can't really do much route editing. Like I am selecting the area around this. It is not adding baseboards. They might have updated this recently. But you can pretty much right click and jump around a lot quicker. It'll teleport you immediately to the area, and you can zoom out pretty far. There is like a middle ground. Like you can kind of see, like it's still letting me do the click thing, but I can actually now add all the baseboards I could ever want. So now, boom, now I have 15 baseboards. So yeah, now we have like a very large area to work with. I'm not going to do this though. Just because, epilepsy warning, by the way. Sorry, chat. We're just gonna stay with the 2 for now. Yeah. So yeah, that basically gives you a majority amount of the topology information that you need to know. There is this tab. I'm gonna be so honest, I have never used this thing in my life. I think the one time I've ever used it was you can basically this functions as like a predetermined kind of like noise effect. So like right now I have Valley 01 selected. If I fill in this area, the whole thing changes to be like this. But you can see that it doesn't really look that good. This is why I never use this ever. Because it just doesn't work. It just doesn't really look good. My guess is this is usually for things that are like further away. So it's like, yeah, it's not really optimal. I think the best use it has is on very, very large selections of area. So like here, we'll jump back to the to like the 15 grid squares thing. So if we do this and we like select this and then I go, come on, got an ad about running through mountains, or the ad's back. Here, I'll pause the ads. There we go. So now we've selected a much larger area. If we fill it, it's like, it's better-ish. You know, it's not amazing, but it gives you very large areas to work with. And honestly, if you want to sit down and do this, you can now jump back to this tool. Here we can actually default this to none. If we use the plateau tool, we can like smooth things out. It's not going to look great, but like you could sit down and smooth this all out if you wanted to. Because like this is just like pre-generated terrain at this point. It's very rough and you have to fix quite a lot of it. But it's like, you know, you could work with this if you wanted to. But we're not going to. When you tried to flatten a crumpled up piece of paper, will it fail? Yeah. Come on. Get rid of it. Go away. There we go. Let's undo the baseboards as well. Cool. Yeah, well, good. Cool. All right. Awesome. Small thing to note, if you've done this and you can't get out of it, you have to change the drop down to none. Otherwise, it'll be like, oh, you want to do displacement 1? There you go. Now that's your raise up tool. That's all you can do, or anything like that. Basically, you have to change it to none so that way it goes back to the circle. Again, I've never used this in my life. Ever. I think I used it once to try out a mountain effect just to see if it would work, and it kind of did, but I would have gotten the same effect by just doing this, basically. So that's your ground topology menu. Next is the paint menu. This one's a lot easier to navigate, I'm not gonna lie. We're gonna go to like all the way to the top. If it's doing this, this means the textures are loading. How do people add more chunks of plot? This button right here, the add/update ground. If I go to the end of the map and I select the open space, it'll add another 750 by 750 meter grid. So basically you can just keep going. By the way, if you guys have questions of something I've already gone over, if it's something that I can easily explain, I will do it. If it's something that's a little more complicated, I'll say like it's back in the stream. Guys, it's totally paint. The game calls it paint, so I'll call it paint. This works the same way as the ground textures, or not the ground textures, as the ground topology. So if I try to select in the middle of this gray square, it is not changing. But if I select on the yellow line, boom, there you go. And we can just, you know, there we go. Now we have a solid square of this texture called 1000 millimeter ground. Or if we want it to be like this rocky grass texture, there you go. It's simple. It's very self-explanatory. There are a lot of different textures. A lot. Was that Chase McCain? No, it's Chase McCain. Anyways, so there's a lot of like dirt textures, a lot of ballast textures. There's a lot of different options you can go through here. And the same thing works with the radius, where you can change it to cover a larger area. So if I'm like, oh, I want this whole area to be like this, increase the radius, and there you go. Thing is, that's also very slow. If you want to make an entire baseboard the same texture, fill grid right here. This will bring up this asset, this window here, bulk asset update / replace. We'll cover this in a moment. If you hit begin, it replaces everything in this grid. Alternatively, you could change this to anywhere on the root, and anything that is the default grid changes to that texture. I believe in 19 and 22, the ground texture defaults to grass, which isn't really ideal. So most of the time, if you just like look up like grid, usually it just kind of exists. So it's like, you know, this is a thing. You know, this is its own thing as well. I imagine there might be a way to basically remove ground textures. It does default to grass and it sucks ass. Yeah, which makes no sense for like root building, because like this grid texture is so helpful. Yeah, the only grids are the PBR grids. The PBR grids work fine too. They do the exact same thing. As long as your scale is set to 0, for example, if I crank the scale up, you're going to see that the lines don't line up. If you lower it, the lines line up perfectly. So yeah. Basically, you just, if you can do the same thing as well here. We'll do this, and it's like, oh, this doesn't have the gray lines. Well, I would rather replace that texture with ballast. I did all of it, my bad. If I wanted to select that, I can change just that to something else. But we'll get more into the bulk asset update replace later. As a root builder, I advise defaulting to a grid. You can just go into here, main menu, bulk asset update / replace. And then you can select the ground texture, which probably by default is like PBR grass 2 or something. You can select it and it'll add it to here. It works the same way as changing the ground texture everywhere else. So I'm like, oh, I want to change this grid to this darker grid color. There you go. Now every part of the map that has the grid texture now has this darker grid texture. I default to the light gray grid because it just looks better, in my opinion. But yeah. Other things to note as well. We'll do some farmland, right? Farmlands are very, very repetitive. And that's okay. That's fine. But the thing is, if you're doing multiple farmlands and they're all the same thing, you're like, oh yeah, well, all the farmlands are kind of facing the same way. That doesn't look as interesting. There is a directional option in here. I think it does it in, let's see, that's 1, 2, 3, 4. I think it does it in 16ths. So you can be like, okay, I want this to go northeast. Now, instead, if you look at these are going east to west. I have now changed it to face north to east. It is now facing north to east. Or if you want it to face the other way, there you go. Now it's facing east to south. Or east to south, north to west. Yeah. Can you make your own texture / paint in Trainz? Yes, you can. That is an entire other thing, though. That is about making assets. That is not something I can cover in this live stream, unfortunately. Unrelated questions will not be answered, by the way. But basically, you can choose different directions for all of the ground textures. And that's really helpful. But also you can change the scale. So for example, this is very small scale. Crank the scale up on this end. That's very large. So yeah. Same thing too, you can lower the radius as well. So you're like, okay, you know, lower the radius there, lower the scale. Cool. I think that's pretty much everything. Oh yeah. Another thing too is like, oh, okay, I have this rock texture, but I'm doing this and I'm like, oh shoot, I didn't mean to do that. You can just grab it, same thing with this magnet, select it, and cover it back over. The ads are coming back. The ads are coming back. What does this button do? Did that work? Oh, sick. Okay, awesome. Sorry, I was just checking something there. All right. You can also select specific areas to fill, like that. Just this little window at the bottom there. That one, Comet Productions. Is there a way to make directions thing move? Yes. So if we are, how am I doing this? Oh, okay, sorry, I was confused. That's a very good question, by the way. So this is a very repetitive texture. You can see every single part of the grid is kind of bleh. What I usually do is I lower my radius, and the bracket keys to the right of the P key on your keyboard. If I hold down bracket right, you can see the compass is spinning. So now when I go to put the texture down, it is actively randomizing the direction of the texture as I paint it. And it's like, cool. There we go. Now that's all one texture, and already it has added a significantly larger amount of differentiation between things. It kind of looks a little too blurry, so you can just in a few spots just click back down the normal, like just once or twice, to bring back that the solid texture. Might change the key to shift. I will let you know it is a left and right thing. So bracket right spins it to the spins it clockwise. Bracket left spins it counterclockwise. And that can be very helpful for just like a shorthand of like if you're doing farmland, you're like, oh, actually, I want it to be facing the other way. You just shorthand just like that. It's a lot easier to learn keyboard shortcuts, by the way. I will let you guys know. If you learn keyboard shortcuts, things are going to be a lot easier for you. I think that pretty much covers everything I have to say about textures. Next, we're going to go on to buildings. Okay. Buildings are pretty much everything that make up everything. So here we've got a little crane. Look at that. That's a cool crane. Here we have an old car, you know? We can move forward and we can get an old storefront. And as we keep going through things, you can see that there are a lot of assets that you can choose from. There's a lot of things that exist. This is the Trainz experience right here. There are a lot of different things that you can put down. A lot of artists, modelers, anything like that are very keen to use prefixes. So for example, the user Bunny Benny, who makes the assets that are on the big station, uses the prefix TSBS. As we can see, these are all the Thomas assets that they have made. And there are a lot of them, because Benny is a terrifying person who has made nearly 1,000 something assets. So now you go through this and you're like, oh, okay, these are all Thomas related assets. Cool, good. A very other common one that I see a lot of people go to is DS. I don't remember what DS stands for. I think it might be Dutch something. I don't know. But these are very commonly used on routes for towns. Because they're kind of just like European, like British stylized buildings. That are just very easy to use as a town. It's like, okay, cool. We've made a street. We've made a few houses already, just like that. Easy. That was fun. Like, but we will start with we'll be using this building. We'll use DS5 Benburb Street. There are definitely American ones. I think Jointed Rail has a lot of them. I think it's Jointed Rail, I think. But yeah. So JR is the prefix for that. But they have a lot of American assets. A lot of American warehouses, like mine buildings. There's a lot of good stuff under JR, and a lot of them are base game, but you can go to the Jointed Rail website and download things there. If you know how to download assets, cool. If you don't, that's another video too. I have to do a video talking about the content manager. I'll probably make that eventually. That's just far, far down the line. We're going to talk about this. Actually, you know what? I'm going to use this bridge. This bridge, I saw it. Where was it? This right here. We're going to use this here. All right, this bridge. Look at this bridge. That's a bridge. The plus tool allows you to place down the asset. By default, the game is set to have them locked into one location. Usually, I think it's just the direction is 90 degrees. So like your assets will all be facing pretty much this direction, all of them when you spawn them. So they'll all be the exact same thing. I have mine set to randomly rotate the direction of an asset. I know a lot of people think that's probably weird. I specifically do that because I place down a lot of trees by hand. And we'll get to that eventually. This bridge asset is pretty cool. But you know, bridges shouldn't be in the ground, right? So what we can do, we can use our tool to raise the ground up a little bit. Be like, cool. And like I said, we can use the get height as well. So right there, then we can use the use height tool to flatten out the ground a little. Let's increase the sensitivity of that. And I would say maybe increase the radius too. We can do this, and we can do this on the other side too. We can make just a little gap between these two spaces here. We'll flatten this out just a little bit more. And we can move the bridge to be in position, but it's still too low. So right here, we can adjust the height to lift it up into the air. This moves it in 1 meter segments, which is very, very abrupt. If you're trying to put something on a platform, like you're trying to put a crate on a platform, that's a little difficult. Hold left shift on your keyboard, and it will move it in 0.5 meter intervals. I think if you hold left control, it moves it in 10. Yeah. So left control moves it in 0.10, whereas left shift moves it in 0.5. Very helpful for being like, yeah, you know, like I kind of just want it barely sticking out of the ground. There you go. Just like that. But you can rotate things as well with this little like ring. This lets you rotate it left and right. If you grab it a certain way, you can spin it very rapidly. This has no use. I just think it's funny. But you know, we'll have that over there, and I'll show you why. Let's say you're like, oh, okay, I need to put another trailer for some reason. This right here, same thing. Get object. If you select it, if you hover over it, it tells you, oh, it's the JR 53 foot semi trailer undercoated. If you select it, it will teleport you not teleport it, it will move you right to it on the list. So if I put this down, I now have 2 of them. So it's like, oh, I want to get back to the bridge. If I select the magnet again, I get right back to the bridge. How are you spinning it so freely? There's like a weird like area where it's like you can kind of grab it right on the edge of its hitbox. So it's like right now I am holding it from like the very end, and as I move my cursor down, it's very sensitive. I can't really explain how I just grabbed it like that. I think there's like a I don't know what I just did. I don't know how I just did that so freely. I genuinely don't know what I did to make that work. Like I can't even explain to you how I just did that. Yeah, see? Like, it just happens. I think you have to grab it like underneath the hitbox or something. I genuinely don't know. And then the more you move your cursor away, the faster it spins to the point where it doesn't really look like it's moving. But realistically, that is moving so fast it would probably obliterate you the moment you touched it. I think I might be able to do the same here with the trailer, maybe. Yeah, there we go. But yeah. The reason why I specifically used these assets is because there's something that these have that that is very specific to certain assets. This is something that was only added in Trainz New Era. You can do this thing called rolling. If I use the rotate tool, I think it's kind of like the same thing with the height tool. You can use left control to rotate it more slowly. You can rotate it more slowly. If you hold shift, you see right there where it says object rotation 192.1. If I hold shift, it says object roll. And what that does is if I move this now, it starts to tilt it in one direction or another. Different different assets have different rolling thresholds. Very commonly, if we go to boulder right here, boulder 10, if I raise this up and I start rolling it, it has about a full 180 degrees of roll in either direction. This is very helpful because, you know, by default, what if you want this to kind of be like on the side? There you go. Now it's on its side. Is that a slur? I hope I didn't just say a slur. Did I just say a slur? Air Force Radiation Assessment Team. Okay. But yeah, so you can roll different assets to kind of create more like of a more variety, basically. We're gonna lower the train back down to 0 again. But yeah. Very helpful with the assets that allow it. Again, it's kind of just a thing of like, does this asset allow this? Yes, cool. Like I think there might be. Here, let me look up. I imagine one of these has to have. Yeah, there you go. Telephone poles can have. Oh my God! What are you doing? Sorry. Telephone poles can some telephone poles can be like tilted this way or that. So it's like, you know, an abandoned telegraph poles kind of just like kind of chilling, hanging out. Yeah, there you go. You've created more variety already in your assets without even having to do anything crazy. People ask about the content search filter. Here, hold on. I'll get there. Something else to note. Assets of any kind have properties. That can be changed by selecting this question mark here. No, you're all good. Again, come back to the stream later when you want to. The idea is to hopefully have chapters in the stream, so that way people can just like skim through it and see whatever is present, relevant to whatever they're looking for. Yeah. Sorry, what was I saying? Yeah, so here, I'm gonna get the SI3D trackside warehouse. Okay, cool. So cool, this building is made of brick. If we hit the question mark, never mind, the script is broken. My bad, chat, my bad. Does this one work? Yeah, okay, cool. So if we select the question mark here, we are given chameleon livery settings. Only certain assets are going to have this, but you can change it, for example, from brick to wood. And you can alternate between these two. I think by default, yeah. I wonder if... No, I don't think I have the TTOS people. For reference, this was how we did the figures in episode 8. The faces were all different asset liveries, essentially. So what we would do is we would pause the game, go into the properties of the asset, change the face from one face to another, and then go from there, basically. Yeah, chameleon settings, memories, yeah. Another instance of this being used, this is kind of a more interesting one. I don't know which, there has to be an asset that has one of these, right? Oh man. Oh yeah. Okay, here. Benny, again. Benny. This is a shed, and sometimes in the show, the shed doors are open. Some people would make the shed doors their own assets. Alternatively, it's a submesh. I personally do not understand exactly how this works, but as you can see, different submeshes yield different results. So submesh 0, the door has enough room for track. Submesh 1, the door is open, and there's still room for track. Submesh 2, the door fully goes down to the ground. Same thing, but the doors are open. Sorry, Benny and the Jets, baby. I got a message from V Owl House. Crazy. Sorry, this person messaged me like 2 years ago. Yeah. Who is this? Who are you? Oh, I know who you are. Okay, sorry. Sorry, I'm taking care of notifications on another screen. My bad. But yeah. So submeshes, different liveries, industries as well. If we, for example, this track or this asset has a track with it. Nostalgic 5699F. I will show that later. Because that's a little bit more complicated. If I select this, it gives me different options. I actually did cover the compass thing at the start of the stream, Curtis. But the lighting direction I'll probably get into soon as well. But we can kind of change it to be like, oh well, this produces palletized goods at a rate of 20, but they start with none. So that way, over time, the platform will begin to fill up and more engines can come in, take them, and leave with them. It's just like a lot of small edits can be made to different assets. So if you look at an asset and you're like, I kind of wish that this existed in another capacity, you never know. Right click it with the properties, see if it says anything. If it says nothing, no edits can be made to it. I think another one is semi-detached cottage by October. Yeah, there we go. different colors. I think by default, the livery usually randomizes. So yeah. And we cover pretty much everything there is about buildings. Look at my spline options, and there's one called BCP Black Wall. Yeah, BCP Black Wall. I think this is the SI3D wall, but just reskinned black. Same thing with this one. So yeah. But these are splines. Splines are very, very good and helpful. Most commonly used for roads, for fences. Sometimes you can even use it for like houses, or if we are bold enough, we can use it for a bridge. For example, we will do that real quick. Look, it's a bridge. Wow. We'll get into exactly how I just did that. But yeah, look, it's a bridge. Cool. Splines are kind of, oh yeah, platforms as well. Don't forget the draw distance settings. We're going through the tabs first, and then I'll start going through the actual the menus. Does anyone know if this stuff applies to the Xbox version? I don't even know. Is Trainz on Xbox? I don't think Trainz is on Xbox. There's no. Okay, no. There is no, I don't think there is a route builder on Xbox. No. On Xbox, there's pre-built routes, but you can't make routes, basically. At least that's what I'm seeing here. Yeah, you can't do route building on Xbox. You can only drive trains on Xbox. So just be mindful of that. Trainz is on Xbox. Sire, my voice isn't it? Trainz for Xbox sounds like a nightmare. Yeah, you're telling me. But yeah. Anyways, splines. Splines work in an interesting way. We're gonna use a what is it? It's called like stone wall, stone dry wall, dry stone wall. Yeah, there we go. Okay, this is a commonly used wall asset. What I'm telling you right now apply. You know what? I'm gonna just say this. You connect spline points by selecting them like that. Have fun, teach them well. I'll try. If they listen. And you can connect them. We will cover how to use splines when we get to tracks. But you know, there's splines. So they kind of work the exact same way as buildings, except they are connected via these little circles here. And you can click on them to create branching off of others. I will show more tracks, or more of this when I do the tracks very soon. As well as all of this too. So don't worry, we'll get there. Yeah, actually, you know, honestly, that's kind of all you need to know about that. Let's talk about tracks. This is the part that everyone is probably gonna be like, we're gonna be on this for a while. So I'm gonna stop reading chat here, and I'm gonna focus on this because we're an hour into the stream and I've only just started talking about tracks. Track time. Okay. So, tracks come in a lot of different varieties. You can select multiple different tracks off of the download station. There are a lot of them. My advice when you start building a route, find a track that works best for you. Because different people have different preferences for track. Some people like the brown ballast. Some people like the gray ballast. These are both made by the same person, but they both look fundamentally different. And you can't really use them together because you start ending up with weird Z fighting. Go invisible BNSF 50. Cole 1435. Sure, man. Whatever. There's just a lot of different types of tracks that you can work with. Some of them come with bridges. Some of them come with tunnels. Some of them are just the rails. And then some of them, if we go to Sam, I think it's some of them come with no rails at all. So pretty much, yeah. Might have a crown beside my name. It means that you're the second most commenting person on the stream. Show the evil red track. Yeah. Some tracks show up in the root editor, but when you actually go to play the map, the tracks just aren't going to be there at all. That's kind of just like a thing we'll figure out. Yeah, there are tracks that are just straight up disappear when you zoom out. Yeah. Here, this we'll show this too. This track comes with an embankment. Helpful. Something to note too. I'm gonna just do like a little bit of here. You know, actually here. I'm gonna do this. If we zoom out, look, it says hi. That looks more like the 21 Pilots logo than I expected it to, but it's fine. Here. Wow. So the track shows up as blue when you're all the way zoomed out. So yeah. So if you basically set up an entire like if you set up an entire like little area here, you will be able to see it from space. And you're like, oh wow, look at that. Yeah, it's cool. Let's talk about exactly what track I use. I use Sam track because it has several varieties. We'll just use this. So how exactly do tracks work? They are controlled via spline points, which are these little white circles that highlight the ends of the tracks. You can make them longer, you can make them shorter, you can make them very, very, very short. And you can even crush them to the point where the texture kind of just breaks. Don't do that, by the way. That's not good. You won't be able to drive with that. But a very big thing. We'll go down at kind of like the L shape. We're gonna do this, and now we have this track here in the middle. What if I want these tracks to be separate? I can use this little like circle aspect icon thing with like the dots on it. If I select this and I select right here in the middle, you're going to notice this white circle suddenly lights up a lot brighter. And that's because there's two spline points on top of each other. So now if I grab one of these, I can separate this. And now they're separate. So now I can put these tracks next to each other. Oh no, they joined together. Oh no, what do we do about that? Hold left shift on your keyboard. This stops tracks from joining. I will always, I've seen so many people be like, oh, you just got to get really close. And you just got to get really, really close. And there we go. Now they don't join. You don't have to do all that. You can just hold left shift on your keyboard and the tracks won't join together. It's a lot easier to do it this way. I promise. It's a lot easier to do it this way. I think the only time where this ever really matters is if you're is if you have to like align them. I feel called out for that because that's exactly what I do. I did the same thing for about 2 years as well. Don't worry, you're not alone. I figured that out after a few years of root building. Don't worry. That I am here to hopefully help you figure this all out before you have to do this. Another really big issue. I'm gonna do a straight track like this. I'm gonna put a junction right here in the middle. And I'm gonna have the track. Yeah, left shift. I think right shift does the same. Yeah, shift, any shift button does the same. All right, so cool. We have a little junction here. Something's wrong. You can kind of look at this and you can see like, oh yeah, that's not what a shift should do. Switch. That's not what a switch should do, right? And you can see even over here, the track isn't really parallel. So it's like, oh, you know, you can kind of just like go along with it. You know, you hold left shift, it's fine, whatever, you know, just make them such close bedfellows, you know? Look, it's fine. It's fine, right? It's not fine. You can fix this. I see this with a lot of people building routes. Right here, there's this button that says straighten track. If you select this, basically the big issue, this track right here is perfectly straight. You don't, no matter what you do, it's going to be the exact same. This track, however, you can see it's kind of like bulging at the switch. So if I click on the track itself, it straightens it. So now this track has a perfect straight shot. This track kind of has the same issue though. If I straighten this too, now it's straight. And if you want to like line it up a bit more, you just move the spline point. And now you have created a very smooth junction. The tracks aren't all over the place. It's what a track should look like. I'll see a lot of people making switching yards where the tracks kind of just do this. And it's like, oh, that's not what you're supposed to do. You go in, straighten. There you go. Done. And same thing, you know, you have the tracks come off. You just go straighten, straighten, straighten. And then you can tinker with the actual position of the spline points to straighten them out and make them look a little cleaner. There you go. Cool. Easy. Just keep everything I'm saying in mind. Don't forget it. I think you can check the properties of track to change their condition. This is mostly an effect when you're driving. They added this in Tane, I think. How much the engine sways when it's moving. By default, it's at 50. If you put the track condition to 0, it is terrible. If you do it, it's perfect. Look at that. So that means the engine will either sway a lot if it's really low, or very little when it's really high. Very helpful to keep that in mind. Because if you're trying to make a very old, decrepit line, you want your track condition to be lower. That's not in properties, actually. That's in advanced properties. Checkmate, Eli. But we're going to talk about splines. Yes, it's called banking. But here, we will do this here real quick. All right. So, you can change. You should make a demonstration of the shitty track specifically with Markland. Make Markland suffer. I'll do that eventually. Fair enough. The adjust spline height tool. If you left click right here on this white circle, it's going to turn yellow. This means that the track is now adjusted for height. So I'm going to, yeah, feel free to take notes, by the way. I'm going to put another track to the right of this here real quick. And I am going to make an edit to the terrain. I am going to put a hill. This track on the right is now going up into the air quite dangerously, whereas this track on the right is not doing anything. That is because this track, because of how I have selected to default the height, basically, the height is now basically conforming to, on the right, the track conforms to the geometry, whereas the track here on the left is unfazed. It is going straight through the ground. If I turn on wireframe, the track goes right through. This is like step 1 to making tunnels, by the way, just for clarity. I know someone was asking about tunnels earlier. This is like a massive part about making tunnels. I'm going to explain exactly what the spline height tool is for, by just doing this. It makes hills. Look at that. Isn't that crazy? You made a hill. It doesn't obey logic. It obeys its own logic. It obeys its own rules. Something else, the straighten track tool. I did show this. right now, the part of the track that's trying to stay straight is the hill itself. That's not usually ideal. You want to straighten the track at the bottom of the hill. So that way you create more of a gradual incline as opposed to the track just kind of bending itself. And then you can just, yeah, there you go. With the, there is this, which is the get gradient tool. I don't think I have ever used this in my life. Like, ever. I don't know what purpose this holds. I think it just sets the gradient for that track. Again, I've never used this, so I have no idea what purpose this serves. Usually what I do is I use the get vertex height tool, which is all the way down here. So for example, I don't want this track to be dipping down. I want this track to be at the same height as the other one. There we go. Now, Eli is talking about manipulating terrain with the tracks. Yes, this is something you can do. So right here, we have a few other options other than adjust spline height. We have delete spline point, which will delete whatever the point is between. So that makes this hill significantly longer. We can add a spline point. There you go. So for example, if I want this track to curve off to the side, there we go. And I will also, just for the sake of this, do that. There we go. So now we have the track. And smooth spline height. So here's the thing. If you want hills, this doesn't really work. You know, you can kind of like, oh yeah, well it's here. So I can use the get height and then I can lower this and yeah, kind of works, right? There's a much easier way. If we go into here and we do smooth spline height, it builds the terrain up around the track, including on slopes. So now we have essentially created a hill that conforms to the track, as opposed to making the track conform to the hill. The reason why this is so important is because most of the time in reality you are building tracks on existing terrain, but it's more that the terrain gets modified to fit a track bed to put the track on top of it. Your best course of action when route building is to build your tracks first and build everything around it. So you're going to want to have your hills very in the position that you want them to be. You're like, okay, I want this to be a very steady gradient. So now you can do this. And you have created a very steady sloping gradient that goes all the way up here. So yeah, there is something very specific. I'm talking about this very early because I feel like Eli wants me to really talk about it. You can create different pieces of terrain using tracks. So for example, if I use the plateau tool, I can kind of smooth it out. You know, it's kind of all right. Dude, I remember Joey Choppa. I remember you. Get out of here. I remember you. Sorry, I remember that person. I don't know who that person is, but I remember that username, and I didn't like them. You can see this. It's kind of, I don't know. You know, it's kind of, you know, you can do it this way, or this is a little more advanced. If you hold left shift and you click and you drag, what the fuck? Oh, sorry, I figured something out. My bad. Yeah, okay, sorry. If you hold left shift, you can see the track does just kind of go down on its own. And that's really not smooth. That's really not smooth. So you can do adjust spline height, just like we did earlier, and now it's smooth. And now you can smooth the spline height. And then delete the track. And now you have a very, very smooth descent down without having to manually move everything. So if I basically just do multiple different tracks like this, kind of like this. Oop, I fucked my soup on that, my bad. And then we go into the adjust spline height on all of these. This might look a little janky, I apologize. I apologize for that in advance. Now I can delete all the tracks again. And then we'll go into here. There is now all this terrain built up to it that looks very smooth. And again, we can just go back in if we're not super happy with it and use the plateau tool to smooth out the parts that aren't satisfying. And there we go. Now we have an entire section of terrain with track to match. Is there an easy way to make descending roads? You can do the exact same thing with track with splines. So for example, if we road in full caps, my bad. If we want the road to kind of be like, oh well, I want the road to steadily ascend, you do the exact same thing. You can just make the road go up, and by using the smooth spline terrain, you smooth the terrain underneath the road spline. And then the same thing, you can just straighten out the edges. Just like that. And it's like, oh, the road kind of clips in. Well, then you just smooth the terrain again. There you go. A lot of it applies very universally. It's like, oh, well, this is a little too sharp. Well, then you adjust it and you do the same exact thing. Smooth the spline out. Yeah. So it's once you've basically figured out the splines. I've been manually adjusting the terrain to the track. I am so sorry. I feel so bad for you. But yeah. So there you go. That's it. And then too, once you remove the road splines too, you can now, if you really want to, we can kind of get a little creative with this. I'll kind of throw something together here. We'll have the grass kind of come up on the sides here. You know, if you want this to be like, here, you know what? We'll grab a cottage. Put a little cottage up here on the hill, right? It's kind of a bad building, but whatever. And then we can grab ballast or whatever. We can make a little path to grandma's house. There you go. It's not perfect, but it's like, there you go. That's already just like very quickly. Using what we've learned, you can make this. Like, it's just, there you go. It doesn't look great, but it's like, you know, if you really want to sit down and get into it, we can be like, oh, okay, well, most realistically, you need more grass variety. By holding the bracket buttons, you can keep spinning the compass around over and over. Grandma's got cookie? Yeah, Grandma's got cookie. And you know, you can kind of just build up the train a bit more. And then for example, if we're like, you know, I don't like this ballast, we can then go in, we do the bulk asset update, grab asset, we can change the ballast to D gray, and we can find, I don't know, gravel. We'll find sure, we'll use CL gravel 01. And there we go. It's very it's very easy. It's shockingly simple. You just get the hang of it after a while. I like this texture. Actually, this is a nice texture. Sorry, I should use this on roots somewhere. But yeah. I'm going to do something real quick. There we go. Okay. All gone. Okay. Oh god, I love crumble cookies. Okay. No wonder 106 died. That's an ugly ass honeymoon cottage. What is this? If you don't like seeing the track or spline circles while building, press Alt-0 or Alt-O. That's a thing? That is not a thing. You lied to me. How fucking dare you? For reference, you can, I have mine disabled in here. Limit contextual information. So for example, if I turn this on, oh wait, no, hold on. It's the show splinting, spline point rotation. There we go. By default, the spline points are doing this. And it's like, that can be a little jarring. What? Switch to another tab. What do you mean switch to another tab? What happened? What did you do? Go to the buildings and then press Alt-O. Oh! Okay. Gotcha. Yeah, yeah, the contextual information. Okay, yeah. Yeah, it's the same thing. I usually have contextual information off by default. So like that doesn't mean anything to me basically. So I can turn it on or off, or I can just go into my settings. Wait a minute, what? Okay, sure, man. It's fine. It's fine, whatever. So what it does is it removes any spline points that aren't the ones you've selected. It hides them, is what it does. So that way you don't see this. So for example, if I have like say I have a bunch of like walls lining these tracks here, right? By default, you're gonna have all these spline points, and it's like I don't want to see those. Now you're only seeing those, as opposed to only seeing those. It's a contextual information thing. Basically, if I'm in the track menu, I will only see the track splines. If I'm in the building menu, I will only see the building splines. If I'm on neither of those, they don't appear at all, because you wouldn't be able to change those anyways, so why would it matter? So it's like, I can make edits to this wall spline, but if I'm selecting a building, I can't change that spline now. Yeah, it helps you to not get confused. Exactly. Because otherwise, you're seeing all of this, and you're like, there's too much information on the screen. This is extraneous. I'm currently trying to put a crane down. Why would I need to see where the spline point ends? Where these spline points end? Get rid of them. Alt-0. Or for me, by default, I have it set to limit contextual information. So the context is that I'm not making edits to the track or the wall spline. So I don't need to know that information. But if I am like, oh, I want to change the wall spline, now I can see the wall spline. I can see what the spline point is. Or if I want to adjust the tracks, I can now see the track splines. Yeah. All right. One more thing I'm going to show regarding tracks. Banking. And I don't mean going behind an engine and pushing them up a hill. This is about super elevation. Not to be confused with that other character. This is not hills, actually. This is about in a lot of more developed like European countries, and even in a few areas in the States, high-speed trains go around curves at very high speeds. If they go around these corners too fast, they'll tip over. But there's no way to slow down. You know, because they have places to be. So they tilt the curves inward. Kind of like when you're riding a bicycle. You'll see people who are riding bicycles, and they tilt into the curve so that way they can't, so that way they won't tip over. The trains do the same thing. They have literally designed the track to tilt inward on a curve. So you can't really see it as much, but you just saw the track shift a little bit there. If we go into here and we bump the degree up to maybe, we'll do 20, you can really see it now. We'll put down a boxcar, sure. And you can see the boxcar is physically tipping to the left. And this is because there is super elevation on the curve. And we can really crank this up. Small thing. If you film videos, this is very helpful for something. Oh yeah, some train maps, yeah, Wonders of Sodor has banking as well. Yeah. There's a few areas where the map tilts you inward on a corner so that way you can go faster. That is intentional. You can do this with the Northeast Corridor, by the way. That is true. Yes. Oh, don't worry. I know what the NEC is. I lived in Connecticut. So I know about the NEC. Don't worry. I lived along that basically. Yes, crashes. It helps with crashes. This is true. I'm going back to this because I think it's important. In TTOS, James comes around the corner and tips over onto his side. We did that using banking. So in a very literal sense, what we did is the track comes around a corner, right? Oops, fuck, I fucked that up. Andrew, I messed around in a rail yard. It was a video. Yeah, that's true. This is like a very vague recreation. Basically, we had a switch come off here, had the track curve inward like this, and I set the degree to like 600. Maybe that might be a bit much, actually. That might be a bit too much. There we go. So now, the effect that this has is that the engine comes into the corner and hits the ground. So basically that's like quite literally all it is. But it looks like DNA, yeah. So yeah, there it is. That's how it works. And the big thing is too, is that if you have it set up in a certain way, you can make it so that these tracks are actually invisible. So if we go into here, I can change these tracks to now be invisible. Just like that. They won't show up in driver mode, basically. So now the track basically makes it look like there's nothing there. The engine is completely off the rails. There you go. That's how you do crashes. In case you ever wondered how train crashes work in trains, there you go. That's how you do it. So play with that. That's all I can say is play with it. Because it works differently. In different contexts. So like if I'll show exactly what I mean by that, by the way. We'll do this. We'll bump into this. We'll set the degree to 20, and then we'll set the limit to 10. If I move this out further and further and further, it starts to get sharper. Same thing if I move these in. You can see that the track just gets very sharp. Kind of like a roller coaster, even. The more I tilt it in, the more it tips. The more I tilt it, the more, yeah. Yeah, you can see that. So now you've essentially created a a roller coaster track is what you've done. So play with the amount of turn that there is, because the moment that you start tilting it in the other direction, yeah. The thing that sucks is the derailment specifically, if whatever that is, it always is tilting into the curve. You can't tilt out of the curve. I know someone figured it out a while ago, because I know somebody like quite literally recreated that scene from Unstoppable where 777 comes around the corner on the bridge. Someone did recreate that as a script in Trainz. I can't remember how they did it, and I know they explained it in the comments, but I was like quite literally like 9 years old, so I had no idea how it worked. But basically, if you are doing a crash, you have to get very clever, because it's like right here is a very, very subtle curve, right? You can't even tell that's a curve. But if we bump this up, you know, it's tilting more. It's tilting even more. Perfect. And that's a virtually straight piece of track. But the thing is, the moment you start turning it this way, it gets a little twisted. Quite literally, a little twisted. So yeah. Just keep that in mind. Did that do what I think it did? No, it didn't. I thought it did. Yeah. Yeah. Next thing to go on to is the tools tab. Here you go. Rulers. There's rulers. Not a lot of people knew this, but there are rulers. So for example, I think we know that, like, here, hold on. I'll look this up because this is actually a very interesting piece of information. Yeah. Yeah, okay. So for reference, Gordon's Hill. Gordon's Hill is 5 miles or 8 kilometers long. So that's 8,000 meters. We're going to start here, and we're going to go. We are at 1,000 meters, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, 6,000, 7,000. There we go. Okay. There. For reference, because people don't know this, this is how long Gordon's Hill is. Yeah, no one really knows this thing, but, like, whenever people are like, oh, why isn't the island of Sodor to scale? Bitch, this is how long Gordon's Hill is. The hill alone. It's a very, very long hill. And I think also it climbs how high? The line climbs 100 meters. Okay. You guys want Gordon's Hill? Start climbing. Because this is what Gordon's Hill is. True to scale. This is what Gordon's Hill is. It's a big fucking hill. Never. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, no, exactly, yeah. This is the part where I have to explain to you all that the TV series has violently butchered a lot of information. I love the TV series, but also it gets a lot of information very wrong. Yeah, so it's like, you know, never really doubt that that motherfucker, because bro's been through it. Come on. Here, let me just. Okay. I'll take 5 minutes to get up to the top of IRL right now. No. I don't think it'll take 5 minutes, because if it's 8 kilometers, no, It might take about 5 minutes, yeah. Isn't it overall mostly a gradual gradient, more towards the top anyway? Like it evens out a bit? Maybe. That's not even the end of the climb. The line continues all the way to... Yeah, no, yeah, the line climbs even higher. But yeah. So, yeah. That's the ruler tool. Very helpful. Very helpful. You can also, you know, put down a lot of rulers. And then you can just kind of move them around. You can't connect them like spline points, but yeah. This also tells you the direction. So you'll be like, oh, okay, like I know that this should be about 50 meters, right? But I know this means 50 meters to the east, to the northeast. So you would rotate it to be about, I think 223 is correct, actually, right? 220, 225 maybe. So you're like, oh, okay, I know it needs to be about here, like that. So yeah, then you can just delete them like that. So yeah, cameras, these are like, they exist. This is mostly for like once you're really getting into root building, and you're like trying to put up cameras and shit. You don't have to know that stuff. I'll be entirely honest with you. But yeah. So with that information, we're gonna talk a little bit more about something else that can be helpful. I'm gonna make the Gordon's Hill to scale. Yeah, good luck. Here we're gonna talk about this real quick. So we've got some tracks here, and the tracks are completely fine. You know, it's like whatever. Well, sorry. Oh yeah, something else I forgot to mention. If you hold left control, it will continue to the next spline point. You won't have to double click. It'll just automatically start a new spline point for you. Just something that might be helpful. Okay. It's not TTOS, it's just a normal tutorial. Yeah, no, this is just a normal train tutorial. This is a normal Trainz root building tutorial. It just happens to be by the person who voices the narrator in TTOS. Like, I promise you, it's not. This isn't lore. This isn't lore. This is just me showing you how to build routes. Okay. So now we have this, and it's like, oh, cool. I've built so much of my route up, and it looks so cool. But now we have an issue, right? Who voices the narrator in TTOS, and absolutely nothing else to TTOS / silly. Yeah. I do nothing. I do nothing for TTOS, yeah. Okay. This is cool. Copy and paste tool. This is something that I think people don't know nearly as enough as they should. So if I select this grid like this, with this red marquee tool, this is kind of the same thing as like when you are like on your desktop and you like do this. It's kind of the same thing. Oop, I didn't mean to open up MS Paint, my bad. It's kind of the same thing. It's just the marquee tool. And we hit the green paste mode button. We are now able to paste this track again. And again. And again. And again. And again. Uh-oh. I've deleted the track. You can basically paste over existing stuff just like this. And you can kind of like, you'll see that as it kind of goes, it starts to be like, oh yeah, the parts where the spline points are ending is where those changes stop occurring, basically. But what if you don't want to do that? You know, what if it's like, oh well, I kind of want this track to get here. Oh, it's deleting it. Well, that's not what I want to do. Instead, you can do add height / objects, and you can now have them kind of interact with one another and overlay with one another.
So now I can be like, okay, I want these two tracks to connect like this. There we go. This applies to everything. This applies to track. This applies to buildings. This applies to topology, and this applies to ground textures. So for example, if I put a little bit of a hill here, and we're going to cover it in, I don't know, moss. I don't like how that looks, actually. That's gross. We'll do gravel. Sorry. We're going to put a little crane on top of this, too. Sorry, I don't know why that made me laugh. And now we'll do a little circuit around the crane. If I grab this whole area, I can now double this over here, and here, and here. And if I rotate it, I can do it sideways. So now the crane is facing towards the south, as opposed to all the others where the crane was facing to the east. Now I can turn it again. That's the same way. Hold on. Turn it again. Now the crane is facing to the west. I can turn it one more time. Facing to the south. Now it's facing to the north. Like, you can do different things with it. And in case you're like, well, I don't want that, you can just get rid of it entirely by changing it back to the replace height / objects. There is this. I've yet to figure out how this helps me. Where basically it takes the information presented in the yeah, it takes the information presented and stacks it basically. Yeah, this is also really helpful for flattening out areas. Look at that. Instead of using the plateau tool or even the other tool, you can just select an empty area of base plate and just nuke it. All gone. Look. So now we're like removing everything that was here. That's all gone. Now I have an empty base plate again. Done. Easy peasy. I mean that's basically all you really need to know about the tools. Next thing I'm gonna say, Pastement, thy end is now. Yeah, real. Okay, we're like 2 hours in and I'm still going through the tools. Adjust the height of your entire base plate with this one neat trick. Yeah, actually. Layers. I'm not gonna get super far into this, other than to say layers are very, very helpful for getting really tight details. So let's say that you have a bush. You have a bush. You have a couple bushes around this crane, and you're like, well, I want to move the crane. You could move the bush out of the way, and then move the crane, and then move the bush back into place. Or we'll go into layers, and we'll create a new layer, and we'll call it hidden. With this eye, we can hide the layer. So now, if we go to select the bush, we can change the layer here to hidden. And now it's gone. You know? And now I can move the crane. And now I just go back to the layers and I unhide it. Now it's back. It's very, very helpful. The thing is, you don't have to hide things. You can also lock the layer, which stops you from moving it. This is very, very helpful for when you're trying to move a bunch of different things and you're like, oh, well, shit, I don't want to hide them. I want to be able to see them. You can go into here. Well, actually, you know, just for the sake of clarity, I'm going to rename the layer to locked. You can go into here and I can change the layer to locked. And now I can move these. Yeah, you can't, it doesn't let you do anything. It won't let you move it. But if I go and unlock it, boom. So it's very, very helpful. Yeah, the iOS Kelsthorpe extension root and SI3D is all on one layer. Yeah, it's insane. Yeah. So if you're ever like, oh, I want to move this asset, but I keep grabbing the tree behind it, it sucks because you can't do anything with it. So you just move it to the locked layer or to the hidden layer, and you're fine. Um, so like when you have the perfect place and don't want to move it accidentally. Exactly, that too. Sometimes assets are like if you're doing a tunnel entrance or something, and you kind of want to have the tunnel like perfectly sitting between the track, you can lock the track layer and lock the tunnel. So that way, even if you're tinkering with stuff, it won't move it. It stays right there and it won't move. So yeah. Very, very helpful stuff. There's a session layer too. I beg of you, before you export your routes for upload or anything like that, check that you have saved your route to the root layer and not to the session layer. If you save it to the session layer, all of your edits will not be on the root. So like, be wary of that, because it is very easy for things to go wrong. If that does happen, select session layer. Right here, you can merge the layer. Merge your session layer into the root layer. Everything that is on the wrong layer will move to the correct layer. And then when you go to save your root, it'll actually save it correctly. This is a very big thing that happens a lot. What is the session layer even used for? It's a very common thing for sessions. So different people will be like, oh yeah, this session is supposed to be for this consist. So a certain consist is on that session layer. It's also helpful for like, oh yeah, I want to load a session where like this siding exists that doesn't normally exist. You save that as a session layer, whereas the base root does not get modified. Yeah. Full honesty, yeah, lock entire root. You can do that too. No reason for me to do that usually. But that's it. That you've learned a massive amount of what there is, and it only took you 2 hours. I'm so sorry it took us that long. I'm so sorry. I'm gonna get into a few other things. We'll go here. Edit root. You can change the information. This was all the information that was presented at the start. Right when we started the stream, we talked about the name, we talked about the region, we talked about what scale we're working in, we're talking about the working units. So yeah, there it is. You can change all of that still. I'm not gonna say the stream's over, by the way, because there's still more to it. Don't worry, I will get into that more. Edit session, same thing. This is mostly for people who are gonna be doing like context. Not context, but like consists and like sessions. You don't have to do these at all. Don't worry about that. Find object. I've personally never used this. I've heard a lot of people say you should. I don't use this ever. It basically, if you have gone and you've named this bush like hello, if I go over here and I'm like, oh man, I've got to find an object. Oh, there's an object called hello. It teleports me to the object. It's helpful. It's not necessary, because if you just kind of know where everything is, you can just very easily find it. I will get to the pick list soon, actually. Minimap, this shows you pretty much the same exact thing that you'd see if you zoomed out. So this isn't really necessary. Should just be helpful for having it. Edit environment. Why don't I use it personally? Because I just know where everything is. If that makes sense. If I know like, oh, I need to go to like to Marin for something, I just go to Marin, because I just know where Marin is on the route. If it's a route I've never used, I'll look it up. But usually I don't, because there's no reason for me to. The narrator used a session layer for the abandoned Crazy. All right, let's talk about environments. This is a very big thing that is important to know when making routes, and even more important when you are using Trainz 19. I'm not going to open Trainz 19 for the route editor, but still, how would I do a T-Toss and Railway Series Croven's Gate hybrid? Like, mainly the narrow gauge section, like the station and the sheds. Like, what height would the ground have to be for the narrow gauge? I'm not even kidding. Wing it. Do do a few tests to see what works and go from there. Because it's like, if you can have like I'm stupid. There we go. That's what I was looking for. Okay. Like, if you did something like this, why don't you use the newer Trainz? Why Tane? Because I like Tane. I think Tane works the best. Tane is a very stable version of Trainz. TRS 19 still regularly bugs out for me, so I only use it when I'm filming, and that's it. Here, hold on. Did I raise that even higher? I think I raised it way too high. Yeah. Here. There we go. That should be fine, I think. Oh, I'm so sorry. Every Trainz route maker just had fucking trauma from that sound. I'm so sorry. All right. There we go. So now we've got, like, that's probably a little too high. I don't think I have Scarlowy or Rheneas or even Rusty. Yeah, I have nothing. That's like too high, I would say. So it's like, I'd be like, oh, okay, well, let me lower it down to be about like here. I'm so sorry. Start with track or buildings first? I always start with track. Always start with track. Because if you start with, if use buildings to like figure out spacing. So it's like, if you're like, oh, like if you need to figure out the spacing for the platform, put down the platforms to make the track relevant, but then use the track for everything else. So for example, like I'm using this to know how high I would want the narrow gauge wharf to be in comparison to the standard gauge line. So it's like, that's just what I would use. I could also use Vylet if I wanted to. Yeah. So it's like, just use all of the assets at your disposal to figure out how you would do this. That's kind of just what you have to do. Yeah. Okay. Tunnels. Someone was asking about tunnels. Oh, wait, no, not yet. Not yet. Sorry. I'm so sorry. I know you asked about tunnels, and I know you're probably still eagerly waiting for tunnel. I will get to tunnel, I promise. Add random scenery. Add random scenery. Add random scenery. Add random scenery. You basically can select assets from this menu to do this, basically. Why isn't this working? Can you work? Hello? It doesn't want to put this in. What? Why not? Okay. Sure. We'll do this. Add cars. Yeah. I mean, this is good for trees and forests. And that's kind of it. You don't really need this at all. Oh, you can't undo those. Oh, hold on, guys. My bad. There we go. Don't have to worry about it if it's not there anymore. Okay. Yeah, that's what add random scenery does. Merge route. Look. Okay, merging routes. So we could merge a route in from basically anything. So here, I'll merge in a route from episode 8. So as you can see, we're all the way over here, right? So I can put this route in right here. This might be broken, by the way. I have not used this route yet. It'll have two conflicting routes layers, pretty much. Whatever layer you have on the base route will conflict with the other if it's named the same. So you either have to rename it before you merge the layer, or you can just merge the old root layer into the new root layer. Now we hit check, and there we go. That's the set from episode 8. There it is. Something I will note, because this is a big thing that some people sometimes misunderstand. Lighting routes. You have to start on the route with the lighting if you're merging it onto another route. So for example, if I have the Carson Video Workshop's lighting, and I want to put that on the TTOS iOS, start with the lighting route and merge the TTOS iOS onto the lighting route. I think I said that right. Start with the lighting route, merge the TTOS iOS onto the lighting route. I think I said that right. Yeah, that sounds right. Checking my DMs to make sure no one's being like, you got it wrong! But yeah. This happens sometimes when you delete baseboards, by the way. The textures linger like artifacts. But it's fine, don't worry about it. How would I do a bridge like the TTOS Vickerstown? Like, is it the same with Croven's Gate, question, or different? I don't know what you mean by that. What do you mean, a bridge? A bridge? Like how do you make a bridge? It's pretty much the exact same. Best got the Carson lighting. I used to, but I just make my own lighting now. Usually what I do for bridges is I just like, here, we'll use the FMA bridge. Is that the one? Like the height thing? Yeah, here, give me 1 second. Where are you? I know you exist. Where are you? I wanted to make a funny joke, but I don't think I can find the viaduct. I can't. That's fine. Whatever. I beg. They're begging in chat. Oh, wait. There we go. Okay. Okay. So a lot of bridge splines usually are relevant to the position that they land on this end. So like you can kind of see it's like it's a little floating here, but that's because it's technically relevant to this position in the ground. I usually try to lower it a little bit more into the ground. You can kind of see like this spot, the very end of it, the moment it starts disappearing is when I'm usually like, okay, that's fine. Like right there. That's when I'm like, okay, it's fine. Because like virtually identical. So this is at 17.80. So now I go over to the other side, apply the same thing. And then I would use whatever track I want. That feels right to me. We'll use this. Why not? And the big issue is that when you go to put the track through, it's gonna just drop. And it's like, well, we don't want that. So if you grab the vertex height with this little tool here, we know that the correct height is 1791. So now I can paste that here. and I can move this across the entire viaduct. So while the track isn't on top of the viaduct, it's technically floating at the same height as the viaduct. It creates the illusion that it is on the viaduct, and that's what matters. So now we can put Markland up here, and Markland's on the viaduct. There you go. Done. That's it. Yeah, that's basically how you make a bridge. There's that fucking sound again. Yeah, for context on what that sound is the game basically saying nuh-uh. It's saying for whatever reason you can't do that. Yeah. Oh, something I forgot to talk about. My bad. I'm so sorry. Buffers. How would you do a curved viaduct, like in the RWS in a route, like using a spline? Very similar, very much the same thing. We talked about this earlier in the stream about spline points. Right here, there's the straighten track tool, right? If we select this and we do it like this and like this, these two tracks are perfectly straight and these two tracks are perfectly straight. Because of this, we can predict exactly what is going to happen when we match it with spline points, basically. So if we're using that viaduct again, we can put it down here. Eli taught me this. If you hit Alt-O, you can actually see where the spline point position is. Line them up. You can do the same thing here, and then one more here. And then we can use that straighten spline tool again. Select here. Select here. Then we'll raise this up to about, we'll raise it up about there. And then I'll raise the track. I'll raise the track up to do the same thing if it wants to let me. There we go. And then did I just happen to grab the? Oh wait, no, I didn't. My bad. Stop it. Sorry. Hi, hello everyone. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Every root editor is gonna fucking kill me in about 3 seconds. They're like, stop! Fucking stop! But, yeah. There you go. And now, because this side is straight, and this side is straight too, and the tracks are doing the same thing, the curve right through the middle is going to stay identical to the track above. So now you've created a curved viaduct. Andrew, you've just made a wooden railway bridge. Yeah. I haven't gotten into route building yet, but I'm already dreading it. I'm gonna be honest with you. It's like second nature to me. Like, yeah. What about doing hills? For like example, a railway series Gordon Hill, then ATV series, then railway series going down the other side. Same thing. I showed this earlier in the stream. It's pretty much the same thing. You find the height of the spline you want, and then you can use the smooth spline height, and it will match the terrain to the height of the track. Using the straighten spline tool, you can also straighten the bottom of the hill, so that way it's not like being super weird. And there you go. Now the track is doing the right thing. It looks a lot harder than it really is. Yeah, no, it's yeah. It's been 2 years and I'm still not done building my route. The TTOS iOS was started in 2017, if it's any consolation. That route has been around for nearly 10 years. Yeah, there you go. You're wondering how to make a hill? There you go. Pretty much just like that. This is a very small scale too. I can't be like, here's exactly what you should do. Because it's just like, yeah, it's just, there you go. It's just kind of, just tinker with it. Just tinker with what works. Are there any ancient remnants in the TTOS route? The oldest remnant on the TTOS route is, I think Crosby. I think Crosby is officially the oldest part of the route. Because I completely redid Knapford. And I completely redid Like, I think it's the stretch. I think it's Henry's Tunnel to Crosby is the oldest part of the route. But I'm going to be overhauling that pretty soon anyways. Almost everything else has either been completely redone or is brand new. Maybe Farquhar is a close second. Henry's Tunnel old enough to drink? Henry's Tunnel is 10 years old. How old are you drinking? What the fuck? Yeah. But here, let me move that over. Cool. Prime drinking age. Are there any Easter eggs? Yeah, of course. Anyways, root stuff. Who wants to learn more about roots? what tunnels? I can finally talk about tunnels. Okay, tunnels. This is gonna use something that we haven't talked about yet. How about a bridge over some rails? It's the same thing. It's the same thing. You just raise the height of the ground, and you raise the height of the track, and you raise the height of the viaduct. That's all you do. Some guy is begging for you to talk about ballast, by the way. Ballast? I'll do the tunnels first, and then I'll talk about ballast. Okay. So, tunnels are actually very, very finicky. I'm not gonna lie. Tunnels kind of suck. I'm gonna be so honest with you. And I will show you exactly why. So, tunnels are going through mountains. Through hills. And that's an issue. Because trains... If, like, I'm like, oh, I want to dig into the hole, I want to dig into the wall here. If I try to lower the ground, it's just... Like, oh, that's not... Why isn't it doing that? What? That kind of sucks. I can't do that. So, I introduce to all of you the dig hole. So what this does is this removes, basically, if we look at the yellow square, it removes it. It removes the yellow square entirely. Now, if you're very clever about this, and I do mean very clever, you can actually use this to your advantage. So we'll grab the Hackenbeck tunnel. We'll use SI3Ds. Fuck it, why not? SI3D Hackenbeck tunnel. There are multiple ways to do this, but I'm just going to do it the easiest way that is possible. Right here, we're going to do like that. Right there on the edge. Just got 3 ads. I'm so sorry. Right here on the edge, we have the track go into here like this, right into the tunnel, right? Awesome. And now we can raise the topology of the ground here on the side. Not quite as ideal as I thought it'd be. I imagine I can just raise it a bit more though. Yeah, it should be fine. Okay. Do that. There we go. Cool. All right. Here's the issue that we're having right now is that obviously the track is not doing the thing it's supposed to. It's kind of just like going through the ground. So if I raise up more of this, I can now put the dig hole down. And there you go. But it's kind of an issue. Up top, there's this. And up here, this is an issue. Because now this is just open. There are a lot of splines that you can use. I didn't know you could do that. What the fuck? Sorry. There are a lot of different splines you can use for this. My default are the CL embankment splines, which are basically just grassy hills. It's just the stuff that tracks would sit on. Right? So, all you have to do is raise the embankment up to the right height, put it in the right position. And you're like, okay, I know that the edge of the tunnel is right there too. If I lower this down the right amount, it covers it. It covers the hole that is left by it. You can't even tell there was a hole there. And then you just blend it into the ground, basically. I know the tunnel portal just jumped. Don't worry, it's gonna do that when you edit terrain around a dig hole. It gets upset. The thing you have to remember though is that you can't raise this too high, because if you do, you'll start to see the hole again. So you have to make sure that you don't raise it that high, because if you do, then you kind of break the illusion. Here, let me try to do it like this. Explain this in Roblox terms? Dude, I fucking can't. I don't play Roblox. Object negate. You're negating the object. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? I don't know. Oh god, I forgot. How do you make Railway Series Tidmouth Harbor? Jay, you're asking like, can you explain how to make a whole route? No, I can't explain how to make a whole route. I'm sorry. Here, hold on. I'm gonna look up tunnel. We're gonna use a different asset. Don't use SI3D assets, by the way. Whatever you do, please do not use SI3D assets. Use literally anything else. Not that SI3D is bad, it's just the assets are a little jank. Or is that the one I was thinking of? Probably, yeah. There we go. There we go. Yeah, it works better. Much better. There we go. So yeah, that's basically how you do that. Bro, you just played Roblox like a few months ago. You and Lumity E2 played Tomatoes Universe. Yeah, Tom Toy's Universe. Yeah. There's no way to... Okay. In Roblox terms, because you don't do route building in Roblox. The process in doing Roblox is completely different. In Roblox, I imagine you probably would just use the terrain to dig into the ground, because I think the terrain editor in Roblox is a lot more developed than the one in Trainz. What do you do for the interior? I'm not even kidding. Most tunnels come with splines for them, so you just kind of like, you're like, oh, okay, this is the height of the tunnel. Oops, I fucked my soup. My bad. There you go. Let me just put it all the way through. There you go. Done. In comparison to Trainz, the Roblox terrain tool is much better. Yeah, there you go. Tunnel. It's done. Like, tunnel's done. So just black. I mean, I guess different tunnels have different splines. So for example, like this one actually has like a brick interior. This one I think is just solid black, but like that has brick. That has brick. This one is Benny's mine tunnel, which is like the one from season 6. October made this based off of one of the bridge splines. So it's like there are different tunnels with different interiors, but yeah, for the most part, it's usually just solid black. Kind of believe making tunnels was easy this whole time. It is shockingly easy. You just have to like have the patience for it, because it can be very broken sometimes. Yeah, case in point. Fucking case in point. For me, I would hold left shift, and it tells me that the height of this is at -385. So I would go onto this side and I'd be like, okay, match the height with that. Actually, hold on, what? That's not right. Tell me that the height is at 0.01. So just keep it at 0.0. And then the dig hole is in the ground here, but it's like offset for some fucking reason. I don't know why it's doing that. Hold on. I wonder if I could like... Hold on, chat. Bear with me one moment here. There we go. Yep. Dig hole on that side. Sorry. As a root builder, I would say a big part of it will always be you just kind of got to deal. Yeah, you just kind of got to deal with the struggle and push through it. Yeah, root building is not supposed to be, like, easy. Yeah, a lot of it's just fuck it, we ball. Yeah, that's very accurate. You kind of just have to have the patience for it. I'm not saying, like, if you don't have the patience, fuck you. It's literally just, like, if you're getting into this, be very mindful. It's going to be stressful. Unfortunately. That's just the way it works. It is very easy to be very stressed out by root building. Just because it's so easy for things to go wrong. It's just a matter of, like, not letting it go wrong, basically. Okay. And there we go. There we go. Made a tunnel. Both sides. You can use portal tunnel shadows in trackside objects as well to cover up tunnel portals. Tunnel shadow? Like portal tunnel shadow and trackside objects? I don't think I have those. I have a question. Let's say I want to reskin. That has nothing to do with root building. Reskinning is an entirely different thing. You edit the texture and you save the edits. That's it. Just that I'm not getting into that. You're asking questions that are too open. But yeah. So Andrea, this is a bit of a specific thing about the specific question about a specific thing about root building. How do you line up the Farquhar carriage sheds with the back of the 3-road shed? Like that. Like that? I guess. No, said, do you specific? Oh, yeah. No, I do it like this. Yeah. This is how I do it. I don't think you're even allowed to reskin the TSI hybrid models. I know you can reskin the TSI TV series models, but not the, I don't know about the others. Words suck, English is hard. Yeah, no, I just do it like this. Yeah, this isn't wrong. This is completely fair. This is normal. It'll look weird because the windows, but, like, it shrugs. I don't know. Some people also just do it like this, which isn't wrong either. There's no wrong way to do it. Yeah. Ballast, my guy. We need to learn about ballast. Okay, we can talk about ballast. Ballast. Ballast kind of sucks. I kind of don't like doing ballast. So we'll go over there. We'll do that. Okay, ballast. Very important thing to note about ballast that I don't think a lot of people always think about. You don't need it, basically. If that makes sense. You don't need ballast. And that's gonna sound so fucking weird, because you're like, what do you mean? Of course you need ballast. No, you don't. The track already has ballast. You don't really have to put down ballast. if you're in like a shunting yard, you need ballast because there's only going to be ballast. But sorry, Eli, you did send me the asset. Can you send me pictures of this? Because I've never seen this. I think I know what it is, but yeah. So something to note about ballast specifically is that it can be a little iffy. I personally use CL Gravel 01 because it matches really well with the track spline I use. It blends in quite well. I believe that the people who made this track have also made a ballast specifically for this. I think it might actually be this one, but like they're virtually identical. You can't really tell the difference, so it's fine. So you can see right here, wow, the ballast just looks fine. Real quick, I'm actually going to turn off the compass. You can do that by going into your interface settings and turning off show compass in 3D view, just because it gets in my way. Why are there ads in a tutorial stream? I don't know. Actually, I've tried. The ads won't turn off. Oh, what in the hell? Here, I'm gonna open this picture real quick. This is what Eli was talking about with the yeah, with the tunnel shadows. My guess is that this allows you to see them a bit more clearly. You can kind of like hide the edge of the tunnel, which is cool. I get it. I like it. Yeah. Anyways, this can be a little fucky, right? Yeah, Gordon. Yeah, I got Gordon on my desktop. Yeah. This can be a little fucky. So, as we've talked about, you can texture things along the yellow lines. Yay. But if you try to do in between the yellow lines, there's no texture showing up. But if I kind of like move this, you can see it's kind of trying anyways. You see? Like it's only putting it on the yellow lines. So when the track is perfectly on the yellow line, it's fine. But tracks aren't grids. Every time I see that Gordon wallpaper when you share the ghost, I genuinely think the old guy on the side is a ghost. No, he's just taking a picture. He's just taking a picture of him. Yeah. So here comes the issue. The ballast won't work here. Like I can't, you know, like I can kind of put it down. But as you see, it kind of gets very thick. You see? It's you know, it's not really working as well, and it's just like you know? It doesn't quite work out as nicely. This is because you don't need ballast. Me personally, I use the G shrubbery. Which if you've ever downloaded like pretty much any root, you probably get these with them. This is what I use. I put these beside the track. Like this. To act as a divider. Right? So while on the inside it's going to be like gray, if I just set it to green, it's kind of just fine. It might look a little janky in some areas, but like here, I'll highlight all of this with the grass. And what I'll do is I'll October made this for me, so I'll just use this because it'll be easier for me in the long run. Grass. Yeah, it is grass. I also have to find out where the Where are you? Can't just be that, is it? Surely. Yeah, okay, I see the issue. Sorry, bear with me. It's quite angry. It's quite an angry bear. There we go. Okay. Here, we'll do all of this highlighted like that. Yeah, sorry, Windows jump scare. We can kind of just like, if you're very subtle about it, if you kind of just like do a gentle, like quick gentle stroke, you can't, it doesn't get that bad, but it is enough of a differential to be like, oh yeah, there is ballast here. You know, it's like, it's just enough to know that there's supposed to be rocks here. You don't need it to be like solid gray, because otherwise it just looks weird. Just do it lightly. So in the long run, ballast is not needed as much as the other textures are. Yes. You can, yeah, when you place on a new tiles, remember, click 10 meter and change it to 5 meters so the textures can be more dynamic. Yes. So this is something that a lot of people have pushed. I don't push it because I don't like it. 10 meter is what I have been using for years. If you want to build in 5 meter, go for it. That is entirely your decision. I am not going to say don't, because I genuinely think that the 5 meter grid plots are a lot better to build with. But unfortunately, I got used to building in I got a lot more used to building in 10 meter. But there's a big reason why I'm saying decide. Decide before you build your route, and I'll show you why. So while the 5 meter grids allow you to have a lot more control over the amount of like what changes in terms of height and terrain, as well as the textures that you are using, because you can see I can cram basically 4 textures into what would be one area. The issue is that you can't do it in areas that a previous existed. So this is a 10 meter base plate. If I update it, this blended texture turns into this. So pretty much it's like, oh, you have to redo all of your fucking textures. So when Silaris22 said never too late to try something new, yes it is. If you are like me and you made the entire route on the 10 meter grid squares, you have to redo all of your textures. All of them. Which I don't have the patience for. 10 meter grid squares work completely fine. The 5 meter allows for more room to get specific details. Very helpful if you're working in narrow gauge, in my opinion. If you are working in narrow gauge, use 5 meter, because you can get a lot more specific details down pat as opposed to what you could with 10 meter. But that said, there is still ways to work around this, because this is all using 10 meter right here. And it still has a good look on it. At least in my opinion. I don't know. What I would do is just upgrade the stuff around the track to 5 meter, and then have the background grids be 10 meter. You could do that, but like, that does still mean you have to redo all of the textures on the track, which is where they matter the most to begin with. Thankfully, textures don't mess up when switching from 10 meter to 5 meter in TS22. That's unfortunate. They're broken like that for me in Tane. But I'm not going to jump over to a less accessible version of a game just because I won't have to redo my ground textures, because I prefer using Tane for route building anyways. But, yeah. So yeah, we've covered a lot of stuff, actually. Shockingly, a lot of stuff. Is there anything else that people want me to do? Is there anything else that people are curious about? 5mm, damn, you got yeah, 5mm. Decorate a shunting yard. Okay, hold on. Let me go through this. Draw distance. Okay, yeah, draw distance. Okay. I will talk about the shunting yard thing in a second. These are all really good questions, by the way. So draw distance is a big thing on routes. For me with Tidmouth, for example, Tidmouth is a very resource intensive area of the route, and I can usually only process what is happening within like that area. If I try to process more than that, my game starts chugging. So what you can do is you go into your settings, you can lower the draw distance cap. And as you can see, the tracks over there are already disappearing. And that is because they are more than, as we saw here, 2,500 meters away. So if I zoom, if I like come out here, you're gonna see that the spline points are gonna start disappearing in the distance. Everything starts disappearing. The tunnel disappears, the track disappears, everything like that. But I could also crank up my draw distance to be like 10,000 meters. So 10,000 meters away, it's still all there. You can still see the tunnel all the way from over there. The texture the ground gets lower poly because it doesn't need to render as high anymore. But it is still all present. All the assets are still present. So if I put like what's a big asset? The viaduct, maybe? Put that all the way over there. You can still see the viaduct all the way over there, even though it's so far away. So yeah. So yeah. Next thing, decorate a shunting yard. I will do that as well as making a random set and talk about the process. Have I gone over bulk asset replacement? Not technically. I can go over it a bit more clearly. I did explain bulk asset replacement for textures, but yeah. Let's say, no, actually, you know, there's a better way to show this. Okay. Trees. G trees. I love G trees. G trees are so cool. All right. Let's say that we have a couple of trees here, you know, just a couple of fun little trees. You know, look at these trees. These are nice little trees. But I want to make a winter version of my set. If I go to bulk asset replace, I can go to get assets, oak 25. I have it selected right here. I can replace all trees on the route that are oak 25 with the winter version of the tree. So yeah, that's it. That's basically it. Like you can do that with everything, and over time your entire route will match that aesthetic basically, as long as you just keep replacing every asset that's wrong. In some instances, like I did for the Christmas special, we had to make a bunch of snow variants of existing assets. So for example, I think if I just look up snow and I go into here, this is a custom asset. This is a custom asset. This is custom. I made this specifically for the winter version of the iOS. These are not like public assets. These are things that I've made myself. So this is used so that you don't have to replace all of them one by one. Exactly. Yes. Because imagine the agonizing process of cleaning out an entire forest like this. Imagine having to do that. As opposed to every single one on the route would get replaced. So for example, like if I literally like, wow, there's so many of these trees. Bulk asset. If I select one of them, I can replace all of them with that. Boom, just like that. Done. G trees good, speed trees bad? Not quite. I actually have an opinion about this. Speed trees are very low poly. if you have very bad performance issues, you should question why you're using Trainz to begin with. Because it's like Trainz is resource intensive just because the game is poorly optimized. That's not an issue with the computer, that's just an issue with Auron. Because I have a very good computer. I have 48 fucking gigs of RAM and I still struggle. Yeah, Trainz optimization is definitely something. That is true. Yeah. But yeah. Cool. That pretty much covers a lot of things. Someone else was. What were the other questions? I wanna check because there are more questions. We got draw distance, source your references for roots. I'm not even kidding. My head, but I just go like it'd be kind of cool if I did something like this. If you really want references, they do help. Usually just like look up Railtor screenshots or images or stuff. Just look up like rail fanning videos and just see what people do. Look at those areas and be like, wow, that looks really pretty. That'd be really cool to make a route out of. Just look it up. Like that's just kind of what I do. Like, you can either look at shows or pictures off of the wiki, off the Thomas the Tank Engine wiki, and just like scavenge it to find cool assets. Or not assets, cool scenes and sets. Or just like look up like photography, railway photography as a whole. Yeah. What is your thought process for building towns? Yeah. Towns, find your roads, find like whatever road asset you want to use. So for example, my default lately has been the CL roads. Just kind of like this. Towns are the part that I suck with. I'm not gonna lie. I suck at towns. Someone asked you earlier to decorate a shunting yard. I'm probably gonna make a shunting yard and then I'll decorate it. But usually I'll say it like this because this was my misunderstanding for the longest time. Towns are not shunting yards. I used to build towns like they were shunting yards. I would basically have a road come off of here and then do a whole little bit of it, and then the road would just come back to the central road. That is not how towns work. What do you think of track mark mode and how to use it? I don't use it. I don't use it. It can be helpful for AI traffic, but that's it. There's no real reason to use it other than that, but I don't use AI traffic because I don't know how to set it up. Towns are my strong point. I look at how towns look on Google Maps and build off of that. That is actually like the best piece of advice someone can give is look at real life reference, because that was like literally just look at how the roads work. If you want to take like a small dive into how infrastructure works in different places of the world, because in the United States, towns are grids. They are very, very grid-like. This is a United States town, right? And that's because they have built towns for optimization and storing people. It is as optimized as it can be to store as many people in one place at the same time. That is how the United States have made their towns. In the UK, their towns are more like veins, if that makes sense. You kind of have like branching paths that come off, and then you end up on these smaller side roads that come off of those as well. That's kind of what theirs look like. If you want a good city, look at New York. Wrong, actually. You know what they say about fast drivers? They do not live in fucking England. Yeah, I love that fucking video. You know what sucks about being behind a learner? You know what's worse than being behind a learner driver? Being stuck behind two of the selfish pricks. Um, I think New York is a good example of a big, busy city. If you are here for a Thomas the Tank Engine thing, do not ever use New York City as reference. Ever. Because it is very, very easy to be like, don't be lazy, basically. If you're like, oh, I want to make a town, you look up town and you go, ah, big fucking building. Cool. And then you're like, here, hold on. There's what are the ones I'm thinking of? There's oh yeah, look, like another big fucking building. And you're like, wow, yeah, wow, this the town is getting done so fast. And you're, oh wow, this is such a long building. Wow, big fucking building. And you're like, oh, Paris House Rose. Oh, big fucking buildings. Don't do this. I am begging you. Do not do this. And my reasoning being that no fucking town looks like this. Houses vary throughout the years, and a lot of people typically have old houses in areas next to new houses. If you want a big ass American city, look at New York. Yes, absolutely. But most of the time, you are going to be working with houses of different eras. You're going to be working with houses that are going to be big and brand new, right next to houses that are small and quaint. Some places in the world do look like this, where they have all these big buildings. Yeah, funnily enough, Palmerston North in New Zealand does look like that. It is interesting. But like, for TTTE Productions, use England roads. Absolutely. Because the series takes place in England. My favorite thing to do is go to the UK on Google Maps and find a small out of the way town. Like look at London, go like fucking like halfway across the fucking continent to the north and look at a town near there. Just look at small towns that are out of the way, because the big towns like London, they're too big. You can't look at them as reference because they are kind of very similarly to the United States. They're built around the concept of like, did I say continent? Country. Because I was going to say, I'm pretty sure England is just part of Eurasia, isn't it? I think it is. Make sure you also know your area. For example, Tidmouth, for how it's built up primarily in the 1900s versus something like Suttery, which is a very old city. Know your area so you can match your style. Yes. This is a very, very, very good fucking advice coming from you right now. Wales is a good place to start. Eurasia? Yeah, isn't that what it's called? Yeah. Yeah, Eurasia makes up everything, doesn't it? Hold on. Let me look this up. It's like everything in Europe and Asia. Yeah. That's what the continent is called. What continent is England a part of? What? I don't care. I don't care. It's Europe. Then what's Eurasia? Why the fuck? Okay. England is an island full of fish and chips. Europe. For some reason, I thought it was called Eurasia. Because what about, like, his? Squints at you. The Cambrian line is a major inspiration for Little Western sets. That is true, though you are not inclined to use Cambrian lines as reference. You can use your own kind of reference. Like, for example, a lot of my stuff is going to be more strongly based off give me a second to find the picture. Excuse me, my voice cracked. My Little Western's going to look more like this. You don't have to follow exactly what the books say you have to do. Just do your own thing. Just do what works for you. But yeah. Anyways, I was told detail a shunting yard. I can do that. I will make a shunting yard. My headset died. Sorry, my headset keeps dying. Eurasia is Europe, Africa, and Asia because there is no body of water that separates them. So, but is that not a continent? What is Eurasia? Is Eurasia not a continent? Because I thought there were 7 continents. Because, yeah, no, because Europe and Africa and Asia are all their own continents. So where the fuck did Eurasia come from? I was gonna say everyone's always like, Africa's a country. Dumbass! Yeah, according to Wikipedia, it's considered a supercontinent. Oh, so is it like fucking, what the theory is about continental drift? Who knew we'd be learning about geography in a root building stream? That comes with the... It came through with your fucking Xbox... Okay. How do we want to do this? Shunting yard. Shunting yard. Shunting yard. Sorry, I'm thinking about this. Trying to figure out how we would do this the best. Don't try to make anything one-to-one. For example, Sodor is not the Frankenstein child of England. Don't have Tidmouth just be London next to Knapford, which is Falmouth. That's true. Yeah. I just joined back. What track do you usually use for building on TBS Total Solar route? I use the SAM track. Originally I used the 60-pound milled track, but everyone uses that for TV series stuff, and I don't like how people have started using it in TRS 19 as a procedural track. This is my hot take about Trainz, by the way. I do not like procedural track. For context, this is procedural track right here. So what is procedural about this? Switches. If I put a junction here, I do this, there is a physical junction there, and it looks cool. Because when you throw the switch, it actually changes. It's really fucking cool, right? Counterpoint, if you are making a TV series route, your switches are not going to fucking work. It's like very fucking difficult. You basically are required to be very particular about this. If you're like, oh, okay, like I want to have this track kind of be a little bit more snug, like at some point the game gets overwhelmed by the amount of information that you are providing it with, and it just gives up on setting the switch. Not only that, but it's also just like far more resource intensive than it needs to be, as opposed to just doing this. I fell asleep and woke up and you only got one piece of track down, shaking my head. I got through the entire game. I got through everything that you can do in this game. You just weren't here. Not my fault. Oh, okay, I'm just like trying to make my own other than Solar map, and that track of like TV series shows a solo looks cool. I like the look of procedural switches, but they genuinely suck ass, and my iOS route is full of them. Use a track that doesn't have procedural switches. That's what I use. The SAM track is perfect for that. And like, here, hold on. Everything on the side of my screen here, these are all the same track type. They all are the same thing. They all coexist. So you have like commonly used, lightly or rarely used, rusty. And they come in this style with both just normal rails, both rails and sleepers, and then also just as normal tracks. This genuinely has blown my mind since I found it, because like, look at that. I love these tracks. You just have to be very careful, because there are these things called SAM-T track, which I made the mistake of using a lot. Don't use these because these are tram tracks. These are for trams. You see this inner third rail here? Not third rail. It's not a third rail. This is basically designed to hold the engine in place. and it kind of looks fine on some engines. Hello? Why is the shift button not working on my keyboard? It kind of works fine on some engines, but on others, the extra rail clips into the wheel. So avoid using anything that says Sam T track, because while the track is great, it having this like inner flange sucks. Thankfully they have plenty. That was not Henry, that was Willet. Done that the Farquhar branch was a tramway. It was funny till the clipping, yeah. But yeah. I see. Tilda. Okay. Decorating a shunting yard. Honestly, I think it might just be easier at this point to go look at other routes that I have done. So would Toby work on the tram tracks? Maybe. Here, I'm gonna hop into here. Whatever you see, no you didn't. I wonder what the stream's gonna open up to. I wonder what's gonna be on the game. Thank you, No Name, for explaining Eurasia to me. Huh? Oh, okay, that's fine. That's whatever. What in the fuck? What? Why can I see every asset that make up trees? What the fuck? What the hell? Okay. Ugh. I don't like it. Okay, here on them. We're on the TTOS iOS. Okay. I'll show this. 5 million spoilers to the TTOS movie. Yeah. Okay. Decorating yards. Honestly, I'm gonna decorate this yard because I'm not happy with it. Okay. So basically, it's slideshow alert. There are a lot of different clutter assets that exist in Trainz. There are lots of crates. Here, you know, I'm actually gonna lower my render distance just a little bit. Is that... Man. Oh! Okay, cool. Good. Gone. Hold on. Sorry, someone got banned out of a server for no reason. They were so chill. They were just like, hey, hey. And they were like, this person got hacked. It's like, no, they're just autistic. They just don't know. What the fuck? Oh my god, hold on. Wait. You got banned from a different server, though. Where were you banned from before? Sorry, chat. We're getting distracted here, but it's fine. What did I ban you for? Yeah, that's fair. Okay. Dealing with another Discord account that got hacked right now. Sorry, Big Buffer is watching, yeah. Yeah, someone got banned. It was someone in Sudbury and Boilersmiths. It's fine, don't worry about it. Don't worry, relax, I'll handle it. But cluttering routes is pretty much it's just a matter of just putting stuff everywhere. But stuff that makes sense, specifically. Crates, are usually a general go-to, because no matter what, crates are usually used, whether it's in a quarry for storing equipment, whether it's in a shunting yard for storing equipment, whether it's in a station for storing equipment, whether it's in a harbor. Sorry, I don't know why that was making me laugh. But yeah. General word of advice, the Old West crate stack big. Old West crate stack in general. Those have very, very good clutter uses. Just cause like these little crates, they're great. You can't go wrong with them. Spam left click and pray. Exactly. Another thing too. This is a big thing that I had to clarify. You should put a bunch of tiny Jameses everywhere as color. I think it'd be great benefit. No. Another big thing too, like this area is very dead and empty and open. So what I would do is I would start to add a bit more like grass and shrubbery around these edges, just to kind of add a bit more variety. I would also probably have, I would say probably just throw in like a lorry or two or something, just something to have near here. And then you can put like some like other assets near it, just for the sake of having stuff. Because a lot of the time stuff kind of gets clumped. Things exist in clumps in spaces and groups. So it's like a lot of the time you'll have like these areas where things are just kind of like thrown together in one general area, because they're like, oh yeah, there's already one thing there, and it's kind of like a magnet, gravity even. Things just start appearing next to it. You're like, oh, well, there's crates here. Well, it'd probably be easy if we just put this other cable drum near it anyways. Just because it's out of the way where all the other stuff is already in the way. It's going to be easier to walk around it by another foot than it would be to have to create an entirely new pathway around this thing that's in our way. So it's like most of the time things will just kind of clump together in one general area. So like, if you have a lorry here, you'll be like, well, whatever. Well, the lorry's been sitting here a while. We'll put down some barrels. You also gotta make sure that there isn't any shit blocking roads or paths. This is true. If things are blocking paths, it kind of gets a little messy. But yeah. Desire paths. Exactly. Yes, desire path. That's such a good word. I completely forgot about that. A desire path is basically like the idea of like sometimes walking trails will make you do this, right? They'll be like, oh yeah, walk around this fixture, like maybe there's a fountain or something. But it's more convenient to just walk straight through. So they just walk right through it. That's a desire path. Desire paths are built up through people being like, this is the most convenient, effective way to get where I'm trying to go. I would rather go that way than any other way. So yeah. Another big thing that I want to say as well, because I think this is actually something that not a lot of people think about. In real life, if you look at a beach, right, there's sand. And that's all there is. There's just sand. And that's because our comprehension of scale is a lot more personal and small. We see things on a much smaller scale, and therefore a much more detailed scale. You must remember that this information can make things a little hard. We're going to use Gordon as reference, right? When you look at Gordon, you're like, that's a big train, right? What people don't ever think about is that one wheel is as tall as the average person. That is how tall a person is right there. The wheel is as tall as a person. Remember this. Because this means that Trainz is scaled to a train. Everything is scaled to the locomotive. This is a beach that is it kind of looks a little cluttered, but it's because the scale is what matches. If you want an environment to feel, is so tall though. Yeah, because he's a fucking A1. That's how tall he's supposed to be. But like, if you want the environment to dwarf an engine, you have to remember this information, as well as compensate the detail to match the scale. Gordon is huge. These cliffs are enormous. If you fell off this cliff, you'd die. So happy to see my friend Andrea Roof building and giving terrifying information to the masses. That is true, yeah. Yeah, Gordon is an incomprehensible nightmare. He's an eldritch abomination. But yeah. You need to scale the information that you present on a route with the same amount of detail that is presented at the scale. So for example, like I said, over here in this yard, this is kind of dead. Like, Gordon is big. Stuff is not this empty in real life. Usually there's people working. Usually there's a building. Usually there's an office. Most of the time, these buildings and offices are out of the way and to the side. So for example, we'll grab this yard office. I'll put this here, just to create a little bit more clutter around the yard. And also, that's even better, because now I can stack crates and stuff up against this building. Even further, I could grab a lorry. We'll grab this one, and we'll stick it right here, right next to the building. And already there's more detail presented on the route than there was before. It creates a much more cluttered environment, because that's what a yard would look like. In addition, even when you look at a rail yard in real life, there's not a lot of weeds. It doesn't matter. Put weeds down. Because it just adds more texture. It adds more, like, grit to things, if that makes sense. Because it's like, if you just have an empty, weedless, grassless fucking yard, it just kind of looks flat. What we're used to seeing in real life is texture, is something that is physically tangible. In Trainz, and if you remove all the weeds, if you remove all the grass, you remove all the tiny bits and bobs, the hint of James and Andrea's voice, it's really funny because I don't even voice James. My brother does. But the tiny bits and bobs that exist is what works. Pretty much. The more tiny little bits of grass that you have scattered around a yard, the more realistic it's going to feel, the more textured it's going to feel. The more, I guess, lived in is the word. So it's like, if you're just like, okay, yeah, you know, just like throw in a few more bits of clutter, throw in things here and there, like, oh, I've got some pipe stack. Sure, whatever. You need something to draw your eye. Without it, you notice how dead this world feels. Precisely. Dude, this edibles ain't shit, I say, entering the yard, conquered by weed. Out of the snippet we got in blooper video, what would Andrea James sound like? It's kind of fucking terrifying, because it's not even that far off. Dude, this, wait, no, my problem is I struggle to imagine / picture how some things should look, even with reference. Sorry. My problem is I struggle to imagine / picture how some things should look, even with reference. I think that's genuinely just a, like, you have to keep doing it. Keep working on it. Keep like tinkering and chipping away at it, because over time, like, it kind of becomes its own thing. Thomas and the struggle for comedic abridgment. No, there's no Mafia James in that. Like, that's just like, fuck it. That's just like, that's Jamie James, actually. The fucking Brooklyn accent James is just like, whatever. So it's like, that's its own thing that my brother came up with entirely on his own. So it's like, yeah. God, I was doing something. I forgot what I was doing. I was like actually zooming out for a reason. I just can't remember what. What track do you use for roots? I use the Sam track. I just showed a bunch of it earlier. It's all very much an art style. The red dot at Crosby is my way of saying I need to put the platform back in because I replaced the station building. How did y'all come up with the voice for James? It literally just happened. It literally just happened. I'm not even fucking kidding. It just happened. Anyways, we're getting off topic. Root building. We're building roots here. Yeah. Basically, a lot of things need more texture than they actually should have. So realistically in a quarry, there wouldn't be rocks everywhere. But it gives the information of like, oh yeah, this is a quarry because there are rocks everywhere. This makes sense. This tracks. This is what should be here. Because it is. This is what should be here. But it's like, realistically, this is just a fucking mess. This is just a nightmare of bullshit everywhere. That's not good. Yeah, bye. You kind of have to, you really have to work with it a bit more than that. Even more, it's a quarry. There wouldn't be bushes and shrubbery, but it adds more color to the area and makes it pop a bit more. So it's like, even if it's like, it doesn't seem like it would make sense, do it anyway. Because look at all of the grass in this yard. And yet, realistically, it shouldn't be there. But it looks good. Bloody hell, it's 2 a.m. for me. Pardon my French, but shit, I've been here for 3 hours. Yeah. It's, oh, hey, why is that like that? Oh, I wonder if that's gonna break, because it's technically... Oh. I didn't know I did that. Hold on. I wonder if I have the... Huh. How do you make custom lighting? That has nothing to do with root building. At the very least, it has nothing to do with Tane. I can't really do that for you in here. Let me check. Is that gonna look weird? No, it looks fine. Sorry. What the fuck is this? Are these girders? How did I... Sorry, you're watching Andrea like reverse engineer her own fucking route. Sorry, I'm so confused. Just fuck with the sliders. That's all you can really do. 40 people watching 3 hours and is genuinely really cool. Yeah. That was such a bad typo. Fuck. Sorry. Damn, bro. Sorry. About the track, is it the what? No, it's literally called Sam track. III/B class 3 V1. Here we go. It's that. That's what I use. But like there's multiple varieties. So like there's bridges. There's bridge track specifically. There's rusty versions of the track. There's abandoned versions of the track. So it's like There's different variants. Sorry. Best track in the world. It is my favorite, honestly. Yeah. Another thing too. This is a parking lot. Oh, hi Nick. I'm sorry, Nick. Hi Nick. Hi. This is a parking lot. It's grassy. That's weird. But it looks fine. It doesn't look wrong. It just that's what it looks like. I said hi to you, Nick. Relax. Shit's I'm putting you in a fucking blender. But yeah. I don't know. Anyone else have any other questions? Any other things that they want to see me do? I probably will do a stream like next week. Where I like sit down and I actually am like, I want to know how you go from nothing to everything. I guess it's like I probably should change the thumbnail from the something to nothing, or from the nothing to something. What's the deal with the evil ass red circle? The evil ass red circle. Andrea, can you read me a bedtime story? Jesus fucking Christ. Okay. Hold on. The evil red circle is so I know that there's no platform here. I have to put the platform in. So usually when I'm about to release a route, I zoom all the way out and I'm like, okay, what needs to be done still? I'll see like the evil red dot and I'll be like, oh yeah, I still have to do that before I release the route. So then I do the platform and then I can just do this to the red dot. There we go. How did you misspell my name but spelled the how did you do that? Okay, how would I make a station junction look good? Jay, I don't think you understand these questions. I don't think you're just asking me how to do everything. You just have to look at what other people do. Like the only way I could do it is if you hand me the route and be like, what would you do? But like you're basically saying like, okay, picture a boat. It's like, what? I have asked this 4 billion times. How do I control a locomotive while I have a moving camera? Pause the game, adjust the speed, go back into the camera, continue recording. That has nothing to do with route building at all. Absolutely fuck all. God damn it! Sorry, my headset keeps turning off. I can't read. I'm a Thomas fan. Real? Yeah. How do you make good bushes? I think your headset should turn off forever. Good bushes? This is funny. They're all trees. They're all just trees. The bushes are just trees in the ground. It's not even a thing I came up with. It's just, I think the SI3D iOS was doing this, and then I just copied it, and everyone else started doing it that way. So just put bushes. Basically, you spawn a tree, and you just put it in the ground. There you go. It's a bush. And if you want it to look a bit bigger, just put the same tree next to it, but even lower into the ground. There you go. Big bush. What would a good build for office in a station like Topham Office and T-Toss? I don't like you. Go in timeout. Go in timeout. 5 minutes in timeout. Sorry. I really want to see you specifically work on Cronk. I could work on Cronk. I'll work on Cronk. We'll work on Cronk. Nick's ideas are always so cool. Personally, I think Nick should take over. I don't like you is killing me. I'm sorry. I'm just brutally honest. I'm sorry. If you can play a train game in VR where you can grab and control the train, would you play? That's just called Derail Valley. Not Derail Valley. Rolling Line. That's how Rolling Line works. That's just Rolling Line. You just described Rolling Line, which I do play. I don't like you, sounds a person being eviscerated from every plane of existence. I don't like you. Yeah. The snot's Cronkle digger. Cronk's getting a full makeover, I take it. Not really. Not a full makeover. I just wasn't happy with the town. Yeah. Is this progress on episode 9? Bitch, it literally says in the thumbnail, in the fucking title, that it is about root building. Hey, Andrea, you should make Cronk look like how it does on Wonders of Sodor. I'll kill you. I won't kill you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Logan. Hey, Andrea, make Cronk boring. It already is boring. What are you talking about? TTOS fans when they have to read. No, fuck Wonders of Sodor Cronk. It's the SI3D Cronk. We lost. Thomas looks around finding out who asked. Yeah. Literally no one. Lower Tidmouth already exists. Exactly. Yeah, Lower Tidmouth is right there. I mean, it is just Lower Tidmouth, but also Lower Tidmouth is technically SI3D Cronk is canon. Yeah, technically SI3D Cronk isn't wrong because the opening story of Edward at that station is Cronk. Actually, yeah, SI3D Cronk is just how Cronk is in the first Railway series book. Yeah, that's just what it looks like. Yeah. Super Rescue's Cronk is better. I agree. I agree. I like the Super Rescue Cronk much more. They changed it in the wiki again. What do you mean they changed it in the wiki again? What the fuck did they change this time? Are they saying Ellsbridge is a harbor again? The Edwards Day Out station is now just a random country station. I'm tired. Sorry. Because wouldn't Stepney just be the Super Rescue one from an angle where we can see the station? If you're tired, Andrea, just go. Yeah, I'm thinking about it, but I'm gonna fuck around with the town a bit more because I have to figure out what the hell I want to do here. Because full disclosure, this is actually, you know what? Here, come with me, guys. Come with me. Come with me. We're gonna go to Google Maps. I just have to make sure that it's not gonna immediately dox me. Yeah, it's kind of immediately doxing me right now, isn't it? Hold on. Let me Control-Shift-P. That should be fine, right? Yeah. Good. Alright, chat. Let's go to fucking England. That's not England. Where is it? There it is. Okay. From... That's a bit too big. No. Here, let me open up my stream chat. Sparkford? That's not bad. That's got a station going through it. Or a track going through it. See, this isn't a grid. This has the central road that goes through it. This has High Street going right through it. And then you have all these smaller houses that are like intertwined and everything. You see it? And then like the road doesn't care where the tracks are. It just kind of goes there anyway. See? It just does it. What does this do? What does it look like next to the track? Because that's the track right there. Oh, there's no good view of the track. The fuck happened here? It's on fire. Yeah. Andrew, can you take us on more road trips? Bet you're on a road trip right now. Hey, look at this. This is way too big. This is like Tidmouth to me. Like this is what Tidmouth should look like. Operative word should. Yeah, here we go. Here's something else. Yeah. Like, you see how this all works? The A356 is the main road. But that's a whole town right there. And then there's just like a lane that juts off to the side. And it's going between farmlands. And then it just hops back onto another road. That was a weird throat sound. I'm so sorry for that. I guess what's probably more appropriate is we should probably have like would that be? I don't think it'd be impossible. Here, hold on. Let me. Here, we'll get a little creative with this. Sometimes, if you don't know what the fuck you're doing, just make it go up. I'm not fucking kidding. Just make it go up. Just add some vertical integration. Just make it go up. Let me check chat, because I'm not reading it. American towns, boxes versus British tone routes. Really setting down route. Bad pun, sorry. Ha. I think I get it. I don't get it. Cronk space elevator? The Cronk space needle. I want a bridge over this. Yeah, that's what I want to do. I just don't know what bridge I should do. If here's the main bulk of the stream is done, I'm gonna head out. I mean, I guess if you consider this done, sure. I'm doing the part that I thought everyone would want to see. No, I don't want to use that here. Absolutely not. It'd be interesting to use this. Use the Els bridge here. The River Els. It'd kind of be weird. Yeah, I don't like how that looks. Bridge under the tracks. We want learn, not this. Is this not learning? Is this not informative? I feel like this is informative. Andrea, no. Teaching by example. Yeah. If people don't want to see this, I can do something different. Very informative. All right. I feel like it depends on the person. Yeah. Cuz it's like build the root. Yes, sir. Or ma'am. Or monarch. Rebuild my kids. I can put you back together. Monarch. Say that again. The genderless one, thank you. Okay. Sometimes I'll say it out loud, and I'll be like, wait, no, I wouldn't want someone to immediately assume that of me. And I'll be like, monarch. Of monsters. Sorry, I'm autistic. Oh, hey. There we go. Please stand here. Rebuild my 2 kids at once. Stand here's just like, the fuck you want me to do? Power up? We want a proper teacher, not a monster. I am a proper teacher. I'll bite you. Well, that's a very monster thing to say, isn't it? You started this entire stream in the Henry voice. I'm just be insulting you all the time. You're like, you fucking idiots get that yet? You get it through your fucking skull? No? Haha, well, I'm not fucking surprised, considering you seem to have cerebral fluid trickling out your ears. Sickly fucking creature. Oops, I made that too tall. You realize you have no tonsils? Feel your tonsils, usually? This should be a podcast. I would love to do a podcast, but also, I feel like everyone does podcasts nowadays. Ever since COVID, everyone's done a podcast. Podcasts aren't original anymore. I'm curious, is your root building at Cronk? Is it? Yes, this is Cronk. This is right after the viaduct. Henry describes T. Yeah, that one. I give up. More of the Henry voice. Jesus Christ. Can you blame them for making podcasts? Making an iOS map isn't original. It doesn't mean it's bad. Yeah, no, that's actually kind of one of the big things too that like I want people to take away from like the concept of root building is you don't have to fucking make it 1-to-1. Like 9 times out of 10, what you're gonna be doing is like everyone's probably already done it. Like, just do you. Just make what you want to make. And what I want to make is my own version of the Island of Sodor. Nice route that you and your mates making. What's your favorite T-Toss episode that you and your mates ever make? Mods. Don't do that. Don't do that. I can't talk about my favorite. Yeah, you can't talk about your favorite. Every story has already been told, but it hasn't been told by you. Pretty good quote for this topic. I really like that. That's really good. I like that. What's that from? I like that. That's a good fucking quote. God, everyone wants to. They're all so down bad for Henry. Mods, crush his skull. Not me, where's my wife? Yeah, you want Henry dead. I know you do. Henry's peak. I don't blame them. Henry's a dick. It's a tweet it's from a tweet, funnily enough. That's a nice tweet. I like that. It's a good tweet. Sometimes Twitter makes good tweets. Oh, here, you know what? Eli. I don't know why I'm doing that. I'm so sorry. Edward's fireman just more Henry. Oversaturate the Henry market. We need more Henry. Nothing else. No more Henry for you. Always bet on Henry. Bitch, I'd never bet on Henry. Yeah, no, I was saying your name because I was doing the thing you told me to do like 20 times at the start of the stream. Yeah. Did someone say gambling? Oh, by the way, just for everyone to know, if you're rewatching this stream and you're like, God, when the fuck is Andrew gonna do more root teaching? This is kind of just me putting everything I've learned into effect right now. James is the best at poker, by the way, in CTOS. But if you're rewatching the stream after the fact, there's not going to be any more direct teaching at this point. But if you do have any more questions, please do leave them in the comments. I will probably do a compilation of all the questions that people have asked and try to answer everything in one go on a stream. Because everyone's kind of just being like very silly about the questions here. It's been a lot of like, how would you create the entirety of Germany in Trainz? And I'm like, fuck, man. Start with Berlin, I guess. Like, fuck, man. Yeah. This has been fun though. This has been a nice little interesting stream. Oh god, the Germans. Scary Fact 17. There is Germany. Markland speech bubble or something. Can you teach us how to make the universe? How will you create the entirety of Germany in Trainz, Andrea? Fuck me, dude. Like I said, I start with Berlin. I consider Andrea to be our mom. Oh my god. Why? If I had a nickel for every time someone called me mom, I would have 2 nickels, which is not a lot, but it's crazy that it's happened twice. Do not stop. 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 No more. Hard no. Oh, fuck, dude. And I think that's a good place to end the stream. My headset turned off again! Fuck! Okay.
Anyways. Fuck, dude. What a stream. What a stream. Screaming to the mic for funnies. My headset turns off automatically when it is not detecting any audio. I don't think anyone's caught on, but there's been no sound on the stream this entire fucking time. Because it's literally just been me talking. Usually when I'm streaming, I'll either be in a call or I'm listening to music or watching a video in the background or something. But yeah, can somebody scream into the microphone? I don't even know if I should be screaming in general. I'm pretty sure I have someone trying to sleep. How are we already at 75%, bro? Probably because of the stream, I bet. Yeah. Yeah. This should be fine, I think. I think we can work with this. Please don't scream. Please. We don't listen to Kevin MacLeod in this household anymore because he uses AI-generated slop. Everyone spread autism to keep the stream going. Do you think autism is a disease? Because that's not how it fucking works. Spread autism to keep the stream going. You guys can appeal to my specific brand of autism. No name, you don't count. Then maybe. But I doubt any of you do, because none of you have ever listened to anything I say. I do have to go now, because I'm watching the Michael Jackson movie in theaters. Enjoy. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your contributions as well, so thank you. Oh, okay. The autism-friendly fire, I see. My favorite. Sorry, clearing up things. Goodbye. Kill the spider. What spider? What are we talking about spiders? Oh. For a moment, I was like, did I turn on my camera? There's a spider on my fucking face or something? Like, when the fuck did this happen, bro? Okay. I think that this is a pretty good point to end the stream as well. I'm not even gonna lie. Thank you everyone for watching this stream, by the way. I am probably gonna head off here though, because I have to do voice acting for episode 9. Ooh. Ooh. Can you just have to do a stream? No, I can't. Anyways, yeah, fun stream. Can you give me a lollipop? No. But yeah. Anyways, voice acting, episode 9. Yeah. I gotta do the top of lines for episode 9, and then I can start editing them down. Andrea, can you buy us all hot dogs next stream? Andrea, can you kill a god for... That's crazy! What do you think? What do you think? I'm gonna rewatch the stream that takes notes. Yeah. Topham was you? Yes, I voiced the fact. That's me! I voiced the Topham hat! Who do you think it was? People. What the fuck? Who did they think voiced Sir Topham Hat? Oh my god. These streams are one flashbang after another. Actually, it's me, Topham Trust. Yep, he. I'm a woman. You wish I was a guy. I'd be unstoppable if I was straight. Holy shit. the only reason why I'm single is because I don't like women. Yeah, sure, totally. Yeah, when will the goat Sir Charles Topham hat be in T-Toss? Fun fact, did you know Topham's name is actually Topham? His name is Topham. His first name is Topham, his last name is Hat. No, Andrea, his first name is Sear. You larper. Will Tugs be in T-Toss? Stupid question. I think the names for Topham Hat is significantly funnier than the Fat Controller. I agree, honestly. Anyways, any questions before I end the stream? I'm gonna put some music on. Ooh! Sure. Closing track is Flair for the Dramatic by Vylet Pony. There we go. I bet you can't even fucking hear the music. Yeah, here. We're gonna go over to the stream ending thing. I'm gonna head out soon. When is episode 9? Not for a while. Because like I just said, I have to do the Topham lines, which means we haven't even started filming. But yeah. Yeah, how Tim's Walmart job going? It's going good. What image did it go to? Oh, I did I can't wait to see you finish your roots. Yeah, me too. I can't wait to see me finish them too. Topham will return in Avengers Doomsday. Bitch, Topham appears in the next episode. But yeah. The stream sure was an interesting ride, yeah. If anyone has any more questions before I end the stream for good, let me know. Otherwise, I'm headed out for the day. I'll linger around for a second, and we can enjoy Vylet Pony's beautiful voice. An ad now. You're right. I can put an ad right now. I didn't know that worked. There was a button to put ads on. I saw the concurrent viewers drop. It went from like 35 down to 29. Oh my god. Sorry, that tickled me. That really fucking tickled me. Sorry. Alright, anyways, thank you everyone for watching. I should be in VC later. Yeah, I'll be up late tonight because I don't work till late tomorrow. How did you get the photo slideshow in OBS? Look it up. Google's got more answers for you than I do. Yeah. Bye, Andrea. See you in like 2 minutes. Are you in my house? He's at the door!